few seconds before we're ready to start. The room becomes so quiet. Is this how it is in the classroom? I know that was a joke. All right, we're going to get started. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Orange County School Board's regular meeting scheduled for Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. All board members are in attendance except for Vice Chair Angie Gallo, who will be joining us by phone. I don't think she's quite on the line yet, but we'll recognize her when she joins us. As a reminder, board members will not be engaged in outside electronic or digital communication during the meeting so that we can focus our attention on the matters before us. Again, thank you so much for joining us. For those who have an opportunity to use the microphone, either to address the board or board members, please speak directly into your microphone and so that our YouTube and Orange TV viewers can hear you clearly. And now we'll begin our meeting with a moment of silence, and I'll invite you to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. And now for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin the business portion of our meeting, we have some amazing students and staff to recognize. School board members have been taking turns honoring an exceptional employee in their district, and tonight it's finally my turn. The chosen employees have shown dedication and contributed to the success of our students. We appreciate all the hardworking staff members here in Orange County Public Schools, and this is just one more way that we are pleased to honor them all. Tonight, I have the privilege of recognizing Wolf Lake Middle School SAFE Coordinator Luther Washington, who has worked at OCPS for the past 25 years. SAFE stands for Student Assistant and Family Empowerment. Mr. Washington and other SAFE coordinators provide students with counseling, referrals, peer mentoring, and health-focused activities. They also lead drug, alcohol, and bullying prevention efforts for their schools. Besides all that amazing work Luther does for his students on campus, he is also a real-life superhero. 3 weeks ago, 8th grade student Christopher Remdeen was choking during lunch. School social worker Joan Spence jumped into action, performing the Heimlich maneuver, but his airway remained blocked. Luther then quickly jumped into action as well. He successfully dislodged the piece of food that was stuck in Christopher's throat by administering the Heimlich maneuver. Thankfully, Christopher is feeling much better. He would be with us tonight, except for that he's at his school, where he thought we were going to recognize him. So we don't have Christopher with us, but I do want you to know Christopher is a very happy young man and very grateful young man. And we are just forever grateful to you, Luther, for knowing what to do, for being there when this student needed you. And Ms. Spence, thank you. This is such an important thing personally to me that I'm just so honored to get to recognize both of you. I had, my firstborn had a propensity for choking. He choked once at home, and thank heavens I had been trained, and he choked once in the cafeteria. And so this has always been a concern and a passion of mine, is to make sure that we have as many of our employees in Orange County Public Schools trained in the Heimlich maneuver. But I guessing that you two took this on your own, and I'm just so grateful, and I know the family is as well. So, and to the Principal Haupt, thank you for your incredibly important role. Our principals work so hard, our teachers work so hard, all of our professional staff are just amazing, changing lives and saving lives every day. So if you'll all come up, we'd love to say a personal thank you and get a picture. All right, can we get Principal Haupt up with us?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. No, that's okay. Here. No, 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 no. Take it. We're going to get a picture. Wonderful. Thank you all. For our next two recognitions, I'd like to acknowledge OCPS students who have been busy bees, in a minute you'll understand why, representing our district exceptionally well this past school year. First up are the top three students from the very first Scripps Regional Spelling Bee, sponsored by Orange County Public Schools. The Spelling Bee was held at the Walt Disney World Resort in March. Congratulations to first place winner. I'm going to do my best with these names. Kids, I got to tell you right now, I promise I'm going to do my best. It's not going to be good enough. Okay, the first one, Elvis, got that part right. Avetis, and our Discovery Middle School 8th grade student. Did I get it close? All right, we're going to bring you up close. I appreciate the honesty. The second place winner is Sunridge Middle 8th grade student, Nathan Krabendem. Okay, got one. And the third place winner is Orlando Gifted Academy 6th grade student, Vail Valis? Not there, huh? It's, sweetheart, it's going to get worse, okay? Sethi Raya? Okay, now you know what you get to do? You don't get to spell it, but you do get to come up to this microphone. All three of you are going to come up, and you're going to tell me how to say your names, okay? I'm serious. Yes, you didn't think you were going to be asked to talk, right? And folks in the back, help me put this podium down just a wee bit. Oh, there you go. Okay, perfect. All right, first place winner. How you really say your name?
Elvis Avatis.
Okay. All right, second place.
Nathan Krabendam.
Okay, closer.
Vilvili Sadie Ryer.
Okay. Thank you all. Okay, now I want each of you to spell the other's name. No. I'm kidding. Can we get you all to come up here? We want to get a picture with you all first, and then we want to get moms, dads, brothers, sisters, teachers, principals, whoever supports you in life back up here for a picture.
Congratulations.
I just got this note attached. I am so sorry. Nancy Golden will make a check presentation for the spelling bee. Very cool. All right. It gets better.
Thank you to the Foundation for Orange County Public Schools and Disney for making this dream come true. I would like to recognize Debbie, Stephanie, and Stacia, who are with us tonight, for making this dream come true and able to, with their support, we are able to send these three students to the National Scripps Spelling Bee in Washington, D.C., and we're so proud of our three spellers. We have one more surprise for you. With help from the Foundation and Disney and our other partners in education, we're presenting each of you with a $1,000 check tonight to help cover your cost of your trip to Washington.
Ms. Golden, you mentioned 3 other people in the audience?
Yes. We have our Disney representatives and Debbie from the foundation. are with us.
Okay, you guys are going to come up in a minute. Ms. Golden, anything else?
Nope,
That was
just
plenty.
Good luck, and we're so excited to have you represent us.
Oh, that's
yes,
thrilling.
yes.
All right, all right. You three stay. Let's get our, yes. Okay, that's fine. Okay, you're in charge, Frank. No, no, kids, no.
Come on in.
Thank you all so much. This is so exciting. Oh, my. All right, wait, we still have some parents back there. Yes, parents?
Come.
Come.
You guys will get my photos.
And grandparents count? Without grandparents, there would be no parents. To be clear about this. Teach that in 5th grade.
That was good.
Without any grandparents, there would be no parents.
That was really good.
That's too funny.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Anybody else?
There's still some people.
Hi there, kids. Good. Look toward me. Hold on. Stay there. Look happy. One more. Hang out for the tourists. Good.
All right.
All right. All right, next is Corner Lake middle 8th grader, Caterin Puerto. Caterin, are you here? Okay, good. Caterin, who won our OCPS Spanish Spelling Bee at Cypress Creek High School in January. Oh, I missed you. Congratulations. Come on up. Come on up. Oh, awesome.
Is your family here?
Is your family here? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, just with you, and then we're going to get your family up. All right, family.
Family. Familia.
Awesome.
Great job.
And for our final recognition, I'd like to recognize student athletes from Dr. Phillips, Olympia, West Orange, and Winter Park High Schools for winning state championships in sports that include basketball and cheerleading. Please welcome Lonnie Flores, District Senior Administrator of Athletics and Wellness Services, who will shine a spotlight on our top winner 2024 student athletes.
Good evening, Chair Jacobs, school board members, Dr. Vasquez, and staff. It is my honor to be up here and have the opportunity to represent and speak about our student athletes that have won state champions for the winter sports season. The thing that will stand out today is we have multiple back-to-back and even back-to-back-to-back champions. So that brings credit upon our institutions, our schools, our athletic departments, our coaches, and our athletes in their determination to continue to represent OCPS on the biggest stage here in the state of Florida. The first team I would like to recognize is Olympia Boys Wrestling. Olympia Boys Wrestling is the back-to-back state 3A academic champions with a team grade point average of 3.42. They were the first of only 34 other schools in the state of Florida who had a combined GPA of at least 3.0 in this classification. At this time, I would like to recognize the student athletes, coaches, and staff of Olympia High School. Principal Christy Goldberg, Athletic Director Russell Wombles, and Head Coach Jeremy Borst, who will now introduce his athletes.
Thank you.
Uh-oh.
We are super proud of the fact that we have a bunch of wrestlers that are involved in different sports, so we are missing some of our team tonight. We would like to introduce those that are involved in other things as well. So your 2024 academic state champions for Wrestling 3A are, we have Mason Borst, Madden Borst, Greg Campanella, Matthew Cobb, Devon Hickey, Alfredo Hurtado, Owen Jacobs, Jay Kim, Ramsey Molly, Timothy Phillips Rishi, Carson Rutledge, Matthew Sheldon, Keyshawn Woods, and Marshawn Woods. Thank you. Also like to recognize Coach Brian Blocker, who's here this evening with us, our assistant coach. Thank you.
Okay, we need all you.
Yep. Is that us too?
No, back there you guys look happy.
Okay, good.
All right, now your happy faces. Yay.
I was working on my mean face.
Is that your happy face there?
It's working on. We were working on a
Yes, wrestling face.
Congratulations.
Good job,
Hey,
guys.
grad-
Good job.
Good job.
Thank you. Good job. Yes. Congratulations.
The next team we'd like to recognize is the Winter Park Competitive Cheer Team. Winter Park claimed the FHSA Competitive Cheerleading State 2A Championship in the medium division, making them back-to-back state champions, three-time champions in their division. The team was the Metro East champions for the 2023-2024 school year. The team was the Region 2 medium champions, defeating Bishop Moore, Lake Nona, Dr. Phillips, and Trinity Christian with a final score of 94.60. They won the state title by defeating Doral Academy, Parrish, Mosley, Sandalwood, Land O'Lakes, and Gaither with a final score of 90.20. This is the school's 11th team championship, only trailing West Nassau and Bishop Moore for second all-time in the state of Florida. At this time, I would like to recognize the student athletes, coaches, and staff of Winter Park High School. The principal for Winter Park High School is Matt Arnold. The athletic director is Andy Child. And the head coach is Angela Austin, who's going to have the pleasure of introducing her team.
First of all, thank you so much for having us today. It's such an honor to be here again. We've been here before, and every year it's just as exciting as the times before that. I would like to thank Mr. Arnold and Mr. Childs for giving me this amazing opportunity to be the head cheer coach at Winter Park High School, as I've just completed my 30th season as the head cheer coach. Yes. It's an exciting time, yes. I have the honor of introducing this amazing team. We have our seniors. We have Kelsey Benkel, who is our captain, who's going to UCF in the fall. We have Kate Finfrock, who's going to the University of Florida. We have Anna Hodge, who's going to FSU. We have Kinsley Linton, who's going to Ole Miss. Kennedy Mon, who's going to FSU. Haley Michael, who's going to the University of North Florida. Ryan Story, who's going to Florida Atlantic University. Carter Thomas, who's going to UCF. And Mia Visor, who's going to the University of Florida. These are our amazing seniors for this year's class. And for our underclassmen, we have Leighton Bishop, Claire Cash, Caroline Drury, Hope Gebelhoff, Lila Ryan, who's not here today, Lillian Van Son, Addison Walker, Leighton McAndrew, Rylan Guilford, Sophie Miller, and Remy Story. And last but not least, we have our amazing assistant coach who's been with me for 8 years and also cheered at Winter Prets.
Back row, slide around a little bit more.
Get more seniors in the front.
A pyramid? We can do a pyramid. Good. Big smile again. Look amazing. Hold on. And just the back row, do your best jump. Perfect. Thank you.
The next team we'd like to recognize is the West Orange competitive cheer team. West Orange claimed the FHSA competitive cheerleading state 2A championship in the small division. This is the school's 4th state championship in competitive cheer. The team was the Metro West team champions for the 2023-2024 school year. The team won the state title by defeating Plant, Nice, Mitchell, Windermere, and Oviedo with a final score of 83.80. At this time, I would like to recognize the student athletes, coaches, and staff of West Orange High School. The principal is Matt Turner. The athletic director is Todd Leneve. And the head coach is Alicia Light. At this time, I'll let Alicia introduce her team.
Thank you. We have first Kylie Fagursky, Hannah Hartman, Rylan Walker, Tori Acevedo, Olivia Eidelman, Alex Johnston, Lila Main, Gigi Gata, Ellie Goodman, Kennedy Heslin, Kylie Hollingsworth, Sydney Lowry, Emily Mikulas, Ashley's not here, Maddie Zimmerman, and Samantha Townley. Sam is our senior, our solo senior. She plans to attend the University of Tampa with a major in communications and a minor in sports management.
Get in the picture.
Plus you get my photos too. Back up a little bit, back up. Thank you. Shingle a little bit, open up your...
The line, ladies.
Hide your keys in your...
Who is responsible for the sound effects?
Parents.
Nice.
Parents.
Woo! Yeah.
We're going to open... The graphic people get sad if they can't see. Good. Look toward me.
And right side up, preferably.
Great. Look toward me first, and you can't block any board members.
Matt, you're blocking me.
That's so bad, right?
We reposition. Look toward me first. Don't look at the loving parents with the cell phones. Now look at these guys.
Look at the advantage we have with this dais. And it's still not good enough.
Still taller than us because the board members are
That's
really,
pretty
we're so tall.
sad. That's pretty sad.
Both of you.
Ladies.
The last team we would like to recognize tonight is Dr. Phillips girls basketball team. Dr. Phillips High School girls basketball team won the FHSA State 7A championship, making them back-to-back-to-back state champions, 3 times state champions in the state of Florida. The team was the Metro West team champion for the 2023-2024 school year. They were also district and regional champions. They won the state title by defeating Winter Haven 65-62 in the semifinals and Colonial 53-46 in the finals. This is the school's 7th championship, tying them with Laurel Hill and Miami Country Day for 3rd all-time in the state of Florida. Also, only the 3rd school to win consecutive championships in the state of Florida, moving them into 2nd place all-time, with 3 only behind American Heritage with 4. So I hope to see him again here next year. At this time, I would like to recognize the student athletes, coaches, and staff of Dr. Phillips High School. The principal is Jackie Ramsey. The athletic director is Jason McDaniels. Head coach is Anthony Jones. At this time, I'll let Anthony introduce his team.
First off, I want to say thank you all for having us back again. It is always an honor to be here and stand in front of our board members. If it wasn't for you all to make it possible for our student athletes to have something to do and showcase their talent. So I want to thank you all for everything that you do for our Central Florida. All right. First, I want to introduce players going in order. Rodney's Berry, Jr. Brianna Blunt, who couldn't be here with us, is also a 10th grader. She's about 6'3". Next, we have senior Leah Bullard. ninth grader Peyton Jagir. Her sister, who's a senior, Taylor Jagir. Elise Horn, who's a junior. Jayla Johnson, who's also a junior. Soraya Johnson, who's also a junior. Kendall Perry, sophomore. Tynasia Pinkston, who's also a junior. Jamila Ray, sophomore. Annalise Roland, junior. And Trinity Turner, senior. I would also like to introduce my wonderful, great coaching staff. We have here Tyrone Scott, I believe in his 16th season here. Correction, 20.
Oh, wow.
He was here before I got there. Next, we have my other assistant coach, Sam Brown, who's in his second season. Third season. And this is actually my 15th season here. Also want to pass the mic to my principal, Jackie Ramsey. One more thing. I have to say this, I'm sorry. I do want to give special recognition to my seniors that are heading off to college. This is very special to our program. We have Leah. Leah, could you raise your hand? Leah has signed to play basketball at Oakland University next year. We have our highest GPA senior on the team signed to go to attend UCF right here in Central Florida. Taylor, would you raise your hand, Taylor? Yes. And then our last senior signed to go to University of Georgia, Trinity Turner. And now I hand the mic to my principal, Mrs. Ramsey.
Thank you. Thank you for having us down here. Coach Jones and Lonnie kind of underplayed the legend that Coach Jones is. He's only the second coach at Dr. Phillips High School. There's only been 2 in 37 years. And both have won state championships. He has his 9th. Hopefully we can keep him longer than 10. He says he's only going to do 10. He's won 2 national championships, a flag football championship, and 7 basketball championships. So. And I also want to mention Jason McDaniel, who's at Water Polo Districts right now, our athletic director, that we couldn't do this without. So thank you.
I do have a special treat here. One of our biggest fans, I worked with her while she was at Dr. Phillips High School, and that is board member Vicki Felder. We have a special hat for you, made for you.
We maybe split half, take it in the front. Or stand, that's fine. Good, don't block anybody. Good, good. Look amazing, hold on. And let's hold your certificates out. You can hold yours down, we see it, there we go. Good, good. Look toward me, super happy. One more? Perfect, thank you.
So anyway, I'm so excited about Dr. Phillips. I opened Dr. Phillips in 1987. And during the time, we had a great basketball team for girls. We had a lot going on. And I remember when Anthony came to work with us. And I also remember, I'm so proud of the principal. She doesn't like me to tell that story, but I'm going to tell it because it's going to encourage some of you people, some of you that are going in education. Jackie came as a substitute teacher. Then she became a permanent sub. Then she got a job as a history teacher for 9th graders. And then she worked with the athletic program and she was assistant AD. Then she became a dean. Then she went on to AP and then she went on to principal. I'm saying this because at OCPS, we believe in nurturing those young people who start off with us. She's a living testimony. She started her teaching career at Dr. Phillips High School, and now she's the principal. So I'm so proud of DP. I am so proud of you all and what you're doing academically and athletically. And I'm so grateful for OCPS because you understand what it means to nurture. When you're starting off from here, you can make it up to because they will give you a job if you need one. We'll give you a job to teach. So I'm so grateful and thank you for this honor. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Wow. Coach, awesome.
All right, see you next year.
I would like to personally thank Chair Jacobs, the school board members, Dr. Vasquez, and staff for always supporting our athletes. I know we ask a lot, and I know that it is an honor for us to be here, and it's an honor for me to get to come up and present them after each sports season. If you don't mind, I'd love to come up and get a fist bump on my way out.
Absolutely.
You guys have a great day.
Absolutely.
Lonnie, thank you so much. Thank you.
Lonnie, thank you so much.
Yeah, great job.
It's a joy to be able to support you and to support our student athletes. And we know what a difference athletics makes in the lives of our kids in so many ways. So thank you all and congratulations. All right. We got a bunch of people in the back in gold, and they look like they could be fun. So, at this time, Dr. Vasquez, I'm supposed to ask if you have newly appointed administrators.
No, Madam Chair, we
Good.
do not.
Nothing against newly appointed administrators, but I really want to hear from these guys. Okay, but let me start with Ron Pollard, president of the Orange Education Support Professionals Association. Mr. Pollard, welcome, and thanks for being here with us. He looks so dapper.
Well, thank you. I want to shift gears real quick, and I brought a piece of paper so I don't go way over. First of all, I want to properly thank Meadowwoods Middle School Principal Sharice Nina. I called her today to ask her how to say her name so I wouldn't get up here and butcher it. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. But I had a great conversation with her, and I saw a principal who was not afraid of the union. And I found that delightful. You too. No, same thing. I love that. But anyway, Principal Sharice, she hosted a event the other day, which I was invited to by Congressman Darren Soto to come, and it was and I'm gonna kind of read this a little bit. It was to announce the presentation of the $5 million grant over the next 5 years awarded by the Environmental Protection Agency under the EPA's Clean School Bus Grant Program. This money was awarded to help transition the OCPS school bus fleet to electric. And I was so proud to be there. And there were several of the dignitaries, some of them was in here now, they left. Ms. Jennifer Fowler was there with sustainability. I'm always proud to stand with her. I know you would, Dr. Armbruster. I wasn't going to leave you out. But I felt so honored that we can help preserve the clean air, breathable air for our students in the future. Because believe me, the future is now. On that note, Congressman Soto pledged to work for more grant money for this program. And I'm encouraged by it because I would encourage us to seek a training program for technicians that's coming through. Our kids, some of our students could really benefit from that in our tech schools. And I'm going to tell you right now, because I spoke to some municipalities around, one of them is Altamont City, and I was told they can't find technicians. So they're trying to partner with I think Seminole State or somebody to try to get a program going to train, because electric vehicles is the way it's going. So I really think that would be good for us if we could do it. Just putting it out there, all right? Anyway, thank you all. I just wanted to come here and kind of throw that out there because I really was. I was delighted by that principal and her approach to talk to me, because some principals think the union is some kind of, I don't know what. All we want to do is help our people get better working environment. That's all. Anyway, and a shout out to CTA for getting their contract ratified. All right.
Mr. Pollard, Mr. Pollard, Mr. Pollard, Mr. Pollard,
Pollard.
Mr. Pollard.
Ron.
Back up to the mic. All right. Well, first of all, I'm going to call, I'm going to introduce somebody in just a minute, but I just want you to know that your support of your membership is unquestionable. There's never any doubt as to what your motivation is and how effective you are for them. So thank you for that. Now, you said you wanted to bring this up, and I just want you to know that you lit up and energized, and I'm trying to think of any other word I might describe, Member Gould, as you were talking. As soon as you talking about tech and what they could do, I mean, that button was hit, and she was about coming out of her seat. Member Gould, you're recognized.
Well, the good news is we did start a EV car program last year. I do not believe, and Dr. Armbruster or our superintendent would know, if we have a large vehicle EV program yet. I don't think so, because I'm sure I would have gotten notice about that. So the answer is no. So I love your thinking, and absolutely we need to expand that, and not only the car repair, but also all those charging stations, because people, now that my son has an electric vehicle, they abuse those charging stations, and they need a lot of repair as well. So there's all those ancillary opportunities out there, and so thank you for that. And I also want to echo the chair's words. You have been a constant collaborative, positive voice since I've been on the board, and we're all working towards the same things. Sometimes we have a different perspective, and you've always been crystal clear about that, and I so appreciate all of the time that we've been able to spend together in 11 plus years. So thank you.
And I thank you, and I'm going to miss you. Just remember, I'm just a working man representing working people. And that's what I am. All right?
Thank you. Oh, wait, Mr. Pollard, Mr. Pollard, I'm sorry. Come back to the podium.
So
Superintendent Vasquez has something to say.
Thank you. So among your qualities is humility.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you neglected to mention that Darren Soto has asked you to serve.
Well, I didn't want to, first of all, I didn't want to be direct bargaining. I just have ideas and I throw them out there. So, yes, Congressman Soto's staff asked me to participate on a labor advisory committee.
Awesome.
And this is not just Florida, this is nationwide.
Oh, whoa.
Again.
Whoa.
Again.
Yay. Yay. All right.
working people. But I really feel kind of embarrassed that I'm standing here and I didn't introduce the young lady sitting in the back hiding. That's my lovely wife back there, who is also an employee of Orange County Public Schools. Okay, so thank you all. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, ma'am.
Congressman Soto is a very
you see
wise
that? You notice I didn't move real fast this time.
All I got to say is Congressman Soto is a very wise man.
Well,
And so is your wife. She's a very wise woman.
I keep telling
And
her
very
that. I don't know why
blessed.
she.
Very blessed.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
This
now.
time you can leave. Yes. Bye-bye. Yes, really. Mr. Pollard? Just kidding. Okay. Now we're going to hear from Dr. Monica Gordon, FAFSA representative for the Orange County Association of School Administrators. I'm really feeling bad for our band back there that's standing for so long. But I guess they get used. They do a lot of standing. All right. Never mind. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Chair Jacobs, board members, Superintendent Vasquez, Deputy Superintendent Armbruster, and staff. Again, I am Monica Gordon. I'm the proud principal of Lockhart Elementary School and member of our OCASA board. And we are here this evening to extend a heartfelt thank you to our assistant principals and directors of OCPS. Your hard work and dedication and countless hours of service do not go unnoticed. You are the backbone of our schools, and your impact extends far beyond the walls of our buildings. We are truly fortunate to have you as a part of our OCPS family, and we thank you for your tireless commitment to the success and well-being of our students and families. As a principal, looking out into the audience and seeing two of my own personal former assistant principals, and to my current assistant principal, Ms. Elvon Nelson, I think I speak for all of us when I say your contributions are invaluable, and we see you. And we thank you for everything that you do each day. A special thank you to the assistant principals and our assistant directors that serve on our representative board. Would you please stand as I introduce you? Our OCASA secretary, Ms. Adrienne Anderson, Pine Lock Elementary. Our membership chair, Christina Mrozak from Lakeville Elementary. Our high school representative, Dr. Alex Jackson from Jones High School. And our middle school representative, Ms. Holly Pierce from Popka Memorial Middle. We thank you so much, AP representatives, for all that you do. And then on behalf of our members, we would like to also say thank you to the school board, Dr. Vasquez and Dr. Armbruster, and your staff for all of the trust and support you have in us as your school-based administrators. And I'm here to share with you that we are recharged after spring break, and we are ready to finish out this school year strong. Please accept this small token of love and appreciation from OCASA.
Thank you.
We got on here.
Oh, how beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, we'll get it into our office with some water.
Thank you. So nice.
Wow.
Thank you. This is so nice.
Thank you.
Wow, this is.
Huh?
Yeah, they're beautiful. Go ahead.
Should we take a picture?
Yes. Yes. Oh yeah. Okay.
Guys, come.
Thank you, Member Gould. I was so overwhelmed with the flowers, I lost my.
Hold them like pageant queens. We should have had our shot.
This is nice.
There we go. Good. Thank you, front row, for posing. Thank you for your flowers. Big smile.
Thank you. I'm just going to take a moment to recognize Dr. Gordon and Dr. Williams are both in here. So it's perfect. It's like District 7 night tonight. Woo! I want to just share with everyone that the other day, Wekiva and Lockhart Elementary School teamed up for a day of cooking. And our culinary instructor, Chef Bates, is in the room as well. He had a conversation, met Dr. Gordon, and they came up with the idea of having his students come to Lockhart and spend the day cooking with the students, some of the students at Lockhart. So they did. First, Wekiva Culinary went out to Tijuana Flats and they learned how to make all the food with Tijuana Flats. And then they came and Tijuana Flats donated all the food for a lunch for the teachers at Lockhart Elementary School that was cooked by the students at Lockhart Elementary School with the help of the Wekiva Culinary students. You guys should have seen the spread that they made. It was all made by scratch. You know, they learned how to chop. They worked all day. They all had little aprons. They were like little junior chefs, and they loved it. And they were so precious serving the teachers, and the teachers enjoyed it. I asked every one of them if it was good. They said it was delicious. So it was just a terrific example of what we can do when we collaborate and we work together, and and it was just, I don't know, it was really warmed my heart. It was just such a beautiful thing to experience. So I just wanted to thank both of you for being the kind of principals that are looking to do that kind of thing and give those experiences to our kids. And I even talked about it that day. We might have just sparked a little something in some of those little 4th and 5th graders where now they want to be chefs one day. So, you know, we created some future students for our culinary program for sure, I think. But it was just beautiful. So I just want to take a minute to thank both of you and to let you guys know about it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And again, Dr. Williams and Chef Bates, who did a phenomenal job organizing it. We could not have done it without you and the kiddos. You guys were awesome. Just thank you so much for supporting programs that allow our students to give back to the little ones and then have our little ones give back to us when we give them opportunities to be creative and inventive. And so thank you, OCPS, for just having this space for us to be great.
All right. Next, I'm going to call on Dr. Vasquez to introduce Wekiva High School students from her Superintendent's Student Advisory Council.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is my absolute pleasure and honor to introduce 3 members of my Student Advisory Council from Wekiva High School. We have Blair Guzmas, Alondra Lara, and Juliana Jackson representing Wekiva High School.
Yes, ma'am. We would actually like to start with our amazing Wekiva High School band if we had a problem.
Got it. Take it away.
Take it away. talking about.
I'm ready for my
Hi.
Lock the door.
You all were good. Very good. Huh? You seen me before? Who you think you saw?
Please do not touch or adjust the
That's right, what
microphone.
church? Sharon Rollins Church?
Awesome.
You covenant?
That was awesome. I so miss going to band.
They can't turn because they got them drums.
Good, make sure you're, there we go, not blocking anybody, blah, 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 you got that.
But the drums.
Good, look up at the lens, hold on. My son's here. Mom's side of the family, good. Good, one more, look amazing. Do one more again. Go ahead, son.
Great job.
Great job!
Yeah, that was like Tetris.
All right, take it away.
And once again, I want to show that is how the Mustang pride gets down with the band. Hi, once again, I am Blair Gusmus. I am a senior at Wekiva High School and also the SGA president. I am thankful to be on this stage to see all the council members that I have never seen before. I am thankful that I was given this job role from my outstanding principal, Ms. Williams. Today, I will be describing the culture at Wekiva High School, the wonderful, enthusiastic, memorable, and thriving high school. No shade on Dr. Phillips. I just feel like we're better. Since I stepped in the president role in my final year of high school, I have seen this school come together more than ever with pep rallies, as you can see, homecoming, school events, or school decorated events where we just have out throughout the week. As you can see, our cheerleading comes in effect, track, field, freshman council, sophomore council. We all come together to make sure the school thrives with the energy we want. And that was the first thing I noticed our principal brought, and I love that from her. I still thank her every day for bringing that energy my last year. I also know she has an amazing administration group behind her that she can call on anytime to help her with anything. You can go to the next slide. And as you will see, I have been raised by a mother that said, actions speak louder than words. So instead of me going and blabbing off about how great our school is, we have a video we should show y'all about how great our school is. Part of how Wekiva gets down is many more memories that I wish we could elaborate on, y'all, but we will take all night just to explain how that would go down. Like I said, I'm just extremely blessed to be in this position with also my perfect partners that helped me through anything with the student advisory. This would not have happened without their help. If y'all want to say your name, y'all can.
I'm Juliana Jackson. I'm Alondra Lara.
And notable, don't forget our amazing principal, Miss Williams, who I call Head Honcho. And on behalf of Wekiva, we have goodie bags with merch. And our culinary arts brung their own handmade Chipotle hot sauce. I know it's not better than flowers, but we come different.
Whoa. Whoa.
All right, Melissa. All right, a slice of heaven. Wow. I mean, they doing the doggone thing. Oh my God. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, wow. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you, baby. Thank you. Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, this is so wonderful. Right there. Wow.
You may just have to hang the shirts up. We're not sure about the size. It's like memorabilia. But the shorts, memorabilia, you put like in a frame. You hang it up. Yes. Oh, you're very welcome.
This is us just showing our gratitude to y'all, thanking y'all for all y'all have done. I know this is probably the most hardest job to do, so I'm not going to go off of the things. I know it's probably hard, many discussions y'all have to go through to think what's the best for Orange County schools. I want to thank y'all, have been with y'all for all 12 years of my life, and I will be officially signing off of the class of 2024. Y'all want a picture with us? Oh my God. I got one question. You have to.
Are you still roasting coffee too?
You want to have some?
They have a creamery now.
Good, slide down, slide down.
I don't need to know that. And a pizzeria. Oh, we hold up our hearts. Yeah. Hold up our hearts.
Oh, hot sauce.
Feel free to sample the hot sauce while we do it. Good. Look amazing. Hold on. One more. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. It was great.
Chair, can I say a quick word? Dr. Williams, real quick before you
You
leave.
guys, wait, don't leave.
Yeah. Hey, head honcho.
Don't leave yet.
Don't leave yet. I just wanted to say, way to bring it, Wekiva. Yeah, I'm really a little disappointed though that member Gallo was not here tonight. So I could just give her such a hard time because she always brags about her school when they come and everything. But you guys, you were rock stars. So thank you. And I told you guys that you would do just fine speaking. You did amazing. I think you made it very clear what an awesome environment you have at Wekiva and how much you love your principal, that's for sure. So we are so thankful that you guys came out to show your Wekiva pride. You did a great job doing that. Thank you. And thank you so much, Dr. Williams, for everything you're doing. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you, Member Byrd. And man, did they ever exude positivity or what? Oh my gosh. Awesome, awesome. Okay. Well, nothing beats that. You know, Clinton is not with us today, but I do want to acknowledge that the only reason we are having these opportunities is because he asked us to open up this window of time to hear from our unions as well as OCASA. And of course, that spilled over into the Superintendent's Advisory Council. And I got to tell you, these meetings are so much better, right? When we start our meetings with our students, oh my gosh, it's just, it's just hard to be anything but in a great mood when you start a meeting like this. But now back to work. Okay, we have several proclamations today. And before listing the proclamations, I do want to provide a little background about proclamations and how they get on the agenda. Because from time to time, I don't know about other board members, from time to time I hear from people that want us to put different proclamations on. So I just thought I would take this opportunity. Historically, proclamations have been brought forward by a school board member. And after proclamations are introduced, typically we have the same, we carry them forward year after year. Sometimes that may not make sense. Sometimes the proclamation is really specific to a particular situation that's taking place in our nation. One that comes to mind is during COVID. There were a lot of really awful attacks and members of our Asian community, not here locally, but throughout the nation, that were being targeted and literally murdered just because they were Asian. And there was this association that they were somehow culpable for COVID. And so I don't remember, one of our board members wanted to recognize Asian American Month. And that made so much sense. But since then, I've had a number of people write to me wanting to recognize different nationalities. And as we look at it, there are, Dr. Vasquez can, you can rattle a lot better than I can, but our students come from 209 countries and they speak 168 different languages and dialects. And it's simply not feasible for us to recognize every nation. But from hearing from folks, I do understand the concern that it's rather arbitrary. And so what I'd like to do, and our communications chair just left, so it's perfect time to saddle her with this. I think that we, as a part of the communication committee, really need to look at whether we should have some, what would be the word for it? Well, not just a process, but also some guardrails around what makes sense, what is specifically related to education. You just got a new job assignment as part of your committee responsibilities on communications, Member Gould. Okay. But anyway, I think it would be, I think establishing criteria for issuing proclamations as well as refining the process would make a lot of sense. And that brings me to a concern that was brought to my attention today. So today, among our proclamations, we're proclaiming April 2024 as National Arab American Heritage Month in Orange County Public Schools. And there's so much divisiveness right now around the world and here in our country around what's happening in the Middle East. And so it was brought to my attention that we don't recognize Jewish American Heritage Month in May. I'm going to suggest that we do that in May because I don't want anybody to think that we place one heritage, one ethnicity above another. If there's one thing that I know this whole board is completely unified on, is that every single student, wherever their background, wherever they came from, whatever faith they have, however they define themselves, they're all welcome here, they're all loved here, and we want them all to succeed. And we work very, very hard not to see any differences because deep down inside, we're really all very much the same. So with that, and And of course, I think that says it all. With that, I'm hoping that we will have a chance to really look at all of our proclamations and decide what makes the most sense and how to be fair about it. So with that, we are proclaiming, as I said, April 2024 as National Arab American Heritage Month. We are proclaiming April 2024 as Autism Awareness Month in Orange County Public Schools. We're proclaiming April 2024 as School Library Media Month in Orange County Public Schools. And April 2024 as National Volunteer Month. And finally, we're proclaiming April 14th through the 20th as National Assistant Principals Week in Orange County Public Schools. And with that, I would like to ask Assistant Principal of the Year, Sharice Hurdle from Rolling Hills Elementary School. There you are. I'm like looking around going, she's not here, but you're hiding back there, to come forward and read the proclamation. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Jacobs, board members, Superintendent Vasquez, staff, and everyone here tonight. I'll be reading the National Assistant Principal Week Proclamation. Whereas the School Board of Orange County honors and recognizes assistant principals for their steadfast commitment to ensuring a positive impact on learning by working collaboratively with school principals, teachers, and staff to maintain high standards for instruction, achievement, character, and developing a positive school culture. And whereas the vision of Orange County Public Schools is to ensure every student has a promising and successful future, and whereas the district's mission of creating enriching and diverse pathways that lead our students to success with the support of families and the community depends greatly on assistant principals as a necessary support for establishing inclusive, supportive learning environments and continuous community engagement. And whereas assistant principals have provided the leadership necessary to support learning by focusing on the support to students, staff, and families during COVID-19 pandemic. Whereas assistant principals have worked diligently to establish the social emotional supports necessary for a conducive learning environment despite trying circumstances. And whereas it is critical that assistant principals serve as educational leaders of their schools, demonstrating knowledge of effective instructional strategies and providing for the learning needs of both students and teachers. And whereas assistant principals must act within rigorous federal and state accountability systems that demand more from schools and communities, and they are increasingly tasked with meeting the needs of the whole child. Now, therefore, the School Board of Orange County, Florida, does hereby proclaim April 1st through 5th, 2024 as National Assistant Principals Week in Orange County Public Schools.
Thank you so much. All right, we are, we are also proclaiming April 1st through the 5th as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in Orange County Public Schools. And next, we'll move on to a strategic plan update. Dr. Vasquez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This evening, we are pleased to present you with an update as part of our strategic plan on the work the district under the leadership of Mary Bridges and Tashana Brown Cannon have done around mental health. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mary Bridges for our presentation.
Good evening, Chair Jacobs, school board members, and Superintendent Vasquez. Tonight, the strategic plan update will focus on mental health services. The OCPS mental health framework is intentionally aligned with the vision, mission, values, and objectives of the OCPS strategic plan. The Student Services Department is comprised of 4 teams: mental health, social services, psychological services, and academics. They collaborate to provide a tiered framework of mental health resources and services. This framework uses a collaborative multi-tiered approach. Each school has a mental health designee who facilitates the collaboration between the school team and the district team to support all students depending on their level of need. The mental health designee is the school counselor in elementary schools and the school-based social worker in secondary schools. The SAFE coordinator supports the school-based social workers in this role. The mental health designee is also the counseling member of the school threat management team. Students need to feel safe and supported to be academically successful. The mental health framework supports this vision of student success. Each OCPS staff member plays a role in Tier 1 services. These are services all students are provided, such as creating safe and positive school climates, resiliency education, classroom guidance lessons, and life skills and character education. Tier 2 interventions are for students who need some support in addition to the Tier 1 resources. Brief check-ins with a counselor, group counseling, or targeted life skills training are all a part of these services. Students needing more intensive help receive Tier 3 services such as crisis response, suicide risk assessments, and individual counseling from OCPS mental health counselors or outside agencies. Tier 1 resources are provided for all students. A positive climate and safe environment are the most important services we can provide all students and staff. Youth mental health first aid training is a major focus within our Tier 1 supports. This training helps all employees identify students who may have a mental health need and outlines the process to refer students who may have mental health needs and refer them to the appropriate student services personnel. Each year, the Florida Department of Education requires districts to have at least 80% of the required employees trained in youth mental health first aid. I am proud to say, as of today, our traditional OCPS schools have 80.47% of their staff trained, and we still have 3 months to go. Specific Tier 1 instruction is found in elementary health lessons as well as the 5 hours of resiliency instructions for 6th through 12th grade. OCPS also started resiliency days this year. All schools plan day-long activities on September 12th and again on January 11th that help students learn resiliency traits like self-management, gratitude, responsible decision-making, and perseverance. Evans High School had the first annual Resiliency Summit, which was a Saturday event celebrating the resiliency characteristics. SAFE coordinators also provide prevention activities around substance abuse and human trafficking. Personnel, including school counselors, school social workers, school psychologists, and SAFE coordinators, all provide Tier 2 services. These include small group counseling, small group life skills training, and regular check-ins. OCPS collaborates with outside agencies as well for Tier 2 services, such as Advent Health for grief and loss groups. Tier 3 services are for students with more intensive needs. They include crisis response anytime a traumatic event occurs within the community or school, and suicide risk assessments for students who have suicidal ideation or deal with self-harm. Individual counseling is provided by OCPS mental health professionals and by outside SEDNet community partners. Other community agencies partner with OCPS, such as the Mobile Crisis Unit, NEMORS, and CHILL counselors provided by Winter Park Health Foundation. Since the start of the school year, student services personnel, which are school psychologists, social workers, and mental health counselors, have responded to 57 requests for assistance related to crisis events. Support was provided to students, staff, parents, and community members following student deaths, staff deaths, and community tragedies. The Student Services team has to provide the Florida Department of Education with specific data related to mental health services. This chart shows data since the 21-22 school year. Suicide risk assessments are completed when a student is identified as having suicidal ideation or is practicing self-harm. In both the 21-22 and 22-23 school years, OCPS had over 5,000 incidents that required a suicide risk assessment. This year, through the first semester, we have had 2,155. Involuntary evaluations, or students being Baker acted, also have to be reported to the FDOE. With only 78 involuntary examinations first semester, it looks like we may be decreasing the instances where a suicide risk assessment requires a student to be Baker acted. Additional training in de-escalation, as well as better communication with parents and the mobile crisis unit, has assisted in lowering our involuntary assessments this year. The last piece of data is the number of students that have been referred for counseling services, which are completed by OCPS mental health counselors or outside agencies. The number has consistently gone up since the pandemic, and at the semester, OCPS already has referred 6,828 students. In March 2020, Chair Jacobs held the first OCPS Mental Health Commission meeting. Stakeholders that were invited included OCPS employees, community agencies such as the Winter Park Health Foundation, Nemours, and Devereaux, as well as DCF and the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Because the pandemic hit right after the first meeting, the Commission spent the next 3 years assisting OCPS with initiatives around parental involvement, trauma-informed care, and legislative advocacy. This year, the Commission is forming working groups to tackle community awareness of mental health needs, community partnerships, increasing mentoring opportunities, and trauma-informed resiliency awareness. Advent Health, Zebra Coalition, Orlando Health, Department of Juvenile Justice, and a faith-based organization have been added to the Commission this year to expand our stakeholders. The most important piece of providing mental health services is to ensure students, staff, and parents are all aware of the services and resources and understand how to access them. Internally for staff, we have several digital handbooks and training modules within our Canvas pages. Every school has posters that describe all tiered levels of services and who to contact to get those services. Externally for parents, we have our Student Services website, the OCPS Community Connect search engine, hand cards, social media sites, and presentations at parent events such as Parent Academy. I cannot stress enough that any student or parent who has concerns about the mental well-being of themselves or their child should contact the school counselor at the elementary schools or the SAFE coordinator at the secondary schools. They will help connect the student and family to the appropriate resources within OCPS or the community. Thank you. Now to Dr. Vasquez for comments.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you to your team. Certainly, these last few years have created some unexpected challenges in our schools, and your team has done a phenomenal job of supporting not only the students we serve, but the families and the community. We're now ready to take any questions from the board.
All right, thank you. Let me begin with Vice Chair Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank Mary Bridges and her team for all their hard work, and I want to commend them on the reduction of Baker Acts. I think it says a lot about the district's ability to really kind of intervene and de-escalate students who are having mental issues, and I think those numbers reflect that. So I just want to commend them on everything that they've done for our district, especially for the students. We know that we have a high needs in that area, and I think that her and her team have really stepped up to provide needed services. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Member Byrd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I will echo what Member Gallo said. I think that the numbers on slide 11 are really, really interesting to look at because, you know, I mean, granted, you know, someone from the outside could say, well, you know, you're looking at first semester already having 6,000, so you're looking at maybe 13,000 for the whole year if you double it, which is quite more than the previous 2 years. But when you turn around and look at that, we're having a reduction in the suicide risks and in the involuntary evaluations. It makes you realize that, you know, we're doing the right thing here. We're hopefully doing exactly what this tier system is supposed to do and getting the kids the help they need before they get to these other situations. So I think it's phenomenal, and I think I'm so incredibly thankful that we have a district that has really, really taken the lead on this. I think that we are one of the leaders in the way we handle this whole situation and the way we're dealing with it in our schools. I'm very, very thankful for you and your team. And I agree that I think, you know, the bottom line is just making sure people know how to get it. And I think that we're doing a much better job with that. I will say I was in a middle school a few weeks back and they had little flyers in the front office that just said, do you need help or does your child need help? You know, call this number. And that was it. It was like very easy, pick up the little flyer. And I thought that was a great idea. And I think that's what the hand cards are. Yeah. So I think we're doing a great job. I think we're on the right path. Just make it easy, you know, but you're doing great. Thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you, Member Byrd. Member Gould.
I was also on that slide. No worries. You know, the Tier 3 counseling referrals, I think there's a good point in that because I think the system is working. But I'm wondering if we're seeing more just because the system is working, because that's going to double what we've seen previously. Or almost double it.
Yeah, we definitely have better systems in place for documenting. So the past years might be a little misleading with a lot of our school counselors did a lot of referring and things like that, but didn't actually put it into the system. And so I think that we've gotten much better with our documentation. But I will say that we've worked really hard having school teams have regular meetings to identify students. And so I think that by having those regular school team meetings, they've been able to identify students and get those referrals out more quickly.
What is and if you don't know this, you can send it to me separately, but what's the most prevalent reason for referral in that 3-tier?
I would have to get back to you with that. I think it varies greatly by building level and then by just the school and the area of what issues they have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Member Gould. Member Salamanca.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mary, for all the work you do here every day. We really are leaders in our own way because of the work you do and how thoughtful you've been, and also to Chair Jacobs, who's really spent a lot of time on the commission. And I think the community always talks about you when talking about this issue because you've really made your stamp as well in changing this. So definitely want to give a shout out there first. A couple questions. So great to see the Baker Acts go down or improve, right? Work in the way that it's supposed to be. I guess what training are we doing on that de-escalation, or how are we thinking about, this is a number that we have to report, and we get compared across the state on how we function this. So I was just curious on the training around this.
Sure. So we make sure that all of our student service staff is trained on de-escalation, which basically is, how to, if a student is in crisis, what steps you can take to try to, again, work with that student to remove them from crisis and then get them the services they need.
This is all staff, you said?
All of our student services staff.
Okay.
So it would be the school counselors, safe coordinators. Our system in place and our flow chart of what we do has so many steps to where the students can get the help. So first, we have our staff that's going to assess them and determine the seriousness of the threat. We call the mobile crisis unit, and if parents approve of talking to those counselors, they come out and can also speak with the students. We call parents at the very beginning, and what we've seen this year a lot is if we can get the parents involved early, then a lot of times we can, right at that point, get resources for the students immediately, make sure the parents know what's needed, and then the parents can actually take the students home. Or sometimes the parents will take them immediately for services, but it alleviates the need to do kind of, that mandatory having someone drive them to a facility.
Got it. Okay, super helpful. And then the other one was you were talking about, there's now a group of adults who are monitoring perhaps students that are at risk. Who are typically those folks at a school?
Yes, so the school student services team at elementary school, it's pretty much just that school counselor, but then at middle and high school, you have the safe coordinator, the school counselors, and that full-time social worker. So that's the school-based team. And then the itinerants are, every school has a psychologist, an itinerant social worker, and a mental health counselor. And so what we've done is really had all of those people start working together so that they can have regular meetings at the school to talk about the students, to see which students may be identified, but then also to create plans for them and then follow those plans and make sure that they're giving those students the support they need.
Got it. Helpful. And then last question, and maybe this is for Dr. Vasquez, is more on last working session. We talked about the threat and risk assessment school team, and now we're talking about kind of this other team that are maybe in parallel or maybe overlapping. Like, is there a liaison between this, communicating about obviously mental health, risk, threats? Some of this ends up being very related to each other, so I'm just wondering how we think about the different pieces now.
Do you want me to? Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got the suicide risk assessment, so students who might have suicidal ideation, and then you have those threats to others, which are students that might be, threatening other people. And it really does work together. So the same people that are doing these suicide risk assessments are also people who are on that suicide threat management team. And when you have, with the new threat management process, they have a student support management plan. And that's really the same plan we're putting our students on who need support. It's kind of all the same plan. So any student who needs support receives support. And it's really the same group that are working together.
Got it. Okay, that's my question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Member Salamanca. Member Front.
Thank you, Mrs. Bridges. I am so thankful for your leadership and the team that you have in place. I've heard from so many families in the communities, in our community, just when we have big events that happen where your team comes in and is helping the students, especially in my district with what happened at Hunters Creek Middle School, and your team was on the ground and just being a support to staff and students and everyone. And I think, our community really sees that and feels it. And so I'm so thankful for that. My one question would be, how is the suicide risk assessment done? Is that like a questionnaire or is it?
Yes, so the state has a couple different kind of assessments you can use. We choose to use the Columbia Risk Assessment. And yes, so it's a kind of an assessment to determine whether the students, sometimes a student might just, flippantly say, oh gosh, I failed my test, I'm going to kill myself. But when you talk to them, you understand that it was probably a poor choice of words and that you need to address it, but it's not. They don't have a plan. They don't have weapons handy. They don't, have, so it's kind of, that type of assessment they do to determine kind of at what stage the student's at. And a lot of times during that's when you can de-escalate the student and really talk to them about what's really going on and what support they need.
One other thing that has come up just from various people, I don't know, online and in person, people have asked me, do we have any kind of feedback from the hotline that's on the back of every student's ID, where it's like a suicide prevention hotline. Are students using that? And this is the concern. Many parents have voiced that they feel a lot of their students had no idea what maybe suicide was, or didn't really even think about that, or that's not like an option kind of thing. I hope it's never an option for anyone. But until they read that on the back of their ID card. And so my question is this actually helping, or is this something that's kind of like introducing the idea to students?
So all the research that we've ever found in the mental health world states that by talking about suicide or by, showing something like that, that it does not put it into a student's head. So we are required by the state of Florida, K-12, to have suicide education. So in our 6 through 12, we do talk about signs and symptoms, and again, make sure students know where to get help. But there's nothing in the research that says that by showing that to them that it was going to be negative. The suicide hotline 911 is a national hotline, so we aren't able to get, and it's anonymous a lot of times, so we're not really able to get data of how much our students are using it. It does look like when they talk about age ranges that students use the text option more, but it is always, anytime a student reaches out, there's a professional that reaches back out to them and makes sure they get the resources they need.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Member Ferrant, thank you for that question, because I think a lot of people wonder about that. I know for a long time I wondered about, is it better to talk about it, or does that put ideas in people's minds? But I can tell you, I agree with the research that's been done, but also there's every one of those students, every one that we've lost, every one of those parents, I know looks back and says, we should have talked about it. So it's a hard subject to have with kids. Obviously, it was introduced into my kids' lives in a hard way. But I do think in almost all cases, honest, open, I'm sure you do too, generally speaking, honest, open conversation, sincere conversation with kids. Kids are amazing when you treat them the way they should be, when you talk to them honestly. Member Felder, are you up to talking? Okay.
First of all, Ms. Bridges, I'd like to thank you for the work that you're doing and this district for understanding the seriousness of mental health. I remember when I first got on the board, and Chair Jacobs, she wanted to do this committee. And we need this more than anything. And I'm like Board Member Byrd, I'm looking at the data. It's very telling. And of course, we need more money to pay for the help that we need. But I just want to salute us a little bit that we have an understanding for a need for having someone who is really trained to work with our students. And I know it was kind of casual, like, well, if you need help, say this. It's just real simple. And you'd be surprised. Even some teachers. We had a box one time in during my sorority meeting where the box was just sitting outside, and you could just drop whatever you needed. And I was the caretaker of the box. And the slips of papers and the things that people were going through, it's a lot. It's a lot that we're going through. So I'm wanting some of the numbers to go down, and I see where it's going down. But I'm hoping that we will always find a need to let people in this district, not just students, but parents and teachers, administrators, especially administrators, they to know that there's some help out there, and they're not shamed because of the help that they need. I'm sharing something. I remember I was in a teaching situation. I was just freaking out, and I called the mental health people here at the district. I guess I was in my 5th or 6th year teaching. And I told the people, I say, listen, he speaks about it for mental health. They, got me in. I said, I'm having a nervous breakdown. They said, Miss Felder, people who are having a nervous breakdown don't know they're having a nervous breakdown. Take 2 days off from work and rest. And that's what I did. But I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell anybody. I called it in. So I'm so grateful for this part of our district, what we're doing. And I'm hoping that we would take it seriously, that we need this kind of help. And we need to have access, teachers and students. So I'm grateful for the work. And I know you need more help. You do. You need more people to come and help you. Hopefully that will happen soon. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Felder. Member Farran.
I knew I had one more question. Do you know when we started having the 6 through 12 suicide education?
Yes. So basically, it had been K through 12 education for years, had been in statute that you would have this, but there was no way to monitor. The state could not monitor it. It was just sort of expected to be in classes and in courses. And so it was after Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. So it was 2019 when they came out and said that you had to have the 5 specific hours, and then the state you had to turn your plan into the state so they knew how you were getting those 5 hours. But actually the information in it really had been required all along. And then just this past year, they updated that information with the resiliency standards. And so they changed the standards this past year.
Okay. And then is there any way, do we have more years of comparison mental health data, like page 11 was showing? Do we have?
We do. The issue is that we did not have the ability or the processes in place to get the data, so we're not very confident with that data. So we do have it, but school counselors weren't adding their data at one point, and so we do have like the involuntary evaluation data, although that didn't have to be reported to the state, but we can get more years for you.
Okay.
I would just caution that it's not as accurate.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Ms. Bridges, thank you so much. It's been a joy, and it's been quite a learning experience getting to work with you and your leadership with the Mental Health Commission. I think everybody else has said everything, but I'm really glad also to serve on a board and in a district that understands how important our kids' well-being is. Emotional well-being, mental health is crucial to their success in life. So thank you for investing so much of your life into this cause. And with that, we will move on to the agenda. Dr. Vasquez, any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have an additional item, 17.03. We're requesting the approval of the health insurance premium discount for the 24-25 plan year. We are elated that yesterday our Classroom Teachers Association ratified the contract with 99.5% of those voting in favor, and this will allow for us to approve the health insurance premium discount.
All right, thank you. So we'll add that. Well, let me ask, is there a motion to amend the agenda to add 17.03?
I so move.
Motion by Member Felder.
Second.
Second by Member Gould. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Member, I'm sorry, Vice Chair, are you still with us?
I am.
Are you?
Aye. I was going to say
Thank
aye.
you. All right, thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Do we have any public comments before we move on to the rest of the agenda?
We have not. We don't have anybody that has signed up to provide.
Okay. All right, then. Pardon me?
None
All right, so we are on public hearing 3.01, request approval of revised board policy IJOA, school field trips and excursions. And Dr. Vasquez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are requesting approval of the policy IJOA, school trips and excursion. We held our work session on February the 20th of this year. We notified Classroom Teachers Association and OSPA on the 28th of February. Published the information on the 3rd of March. We had rule development on the 26th of March, and we are bringing it to the board today, April the 2nd.
All right, thank you. We have no public comments. Any comments from board members? If not, is there a motion to approve the policy revisions? Motion by Member Kester-Denel. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Member Felder. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Vice Chair?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. We are on item 3.02, request approval of revised board policy IA, student progression plan. And Dr. Vasquez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We held the work session for the revision to the student policy on student progression plan on the 20th of February. We made notification to both a CTA and OSPA on the 28th of February, published on the 3rd of March. We had our rule development workshop on the 26th of March, and now are requesting approval at today's board meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. Any comments or questions, discussion by board members? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Member Byrd. I did it again. Member Gould? It's been a long time, at least. Member Gould, is there a second? There you go. Thank you. Second by Member Byrd. It was just a premonition. All in favor say aye. Aye. Vice Chair?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. And we are on a non-consent agenda 1701. Let's take up the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved. Thank you, Member Gould. Is there a second? Second. Not so enthusiastic here, guys. Member Kester-Denel seconds the motion. No, it's not. I know. We do have to close with a marching band so we can stay up. All in favor of approving the consent agenda? Please say aye. Aye. Vice Chair?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, now we are on 17.01, request approval of a name for School 47EW4, which will be opening in 24-25. Dr. Vasquez, you're recognized.
This is one of my favorite times at a board meeting where we actually have the opportunity to have naming of new schools that will be opening. And so I'm going to turn it over to our executive leader for elementary, Dr. Raheem Jones, for this item.
Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. Before I begin, I just would like to introduce our, recognize our principal of 47-E-W-4. Principal Hendricks is here.
Welcome.
Oh my goodness, Lord.
Hold on just a minute. Vice Chair? Vice Chair? Oh, I don't know how to do it.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It was a nice conversation you were having, but we're going to mute you now.
Hello.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. We're laughing. It's good. It's all good. All right, back to you, Dr. Jones.
Good evening, Chair Jacobs, board members, and Superintendent Vasquez. It is an honor to come before you this evening to present the resolution to request school board approval for the naming of Site 47E EW4, opening in 24-25 school year. According to School Board Policy FF, the superintendent shall present 3 recommended names based upon input from the school's community stakeholders. The name of a school is selected by the school board. The superintendent shall submit 3 names that are a direct result of community involvement. In the case of 47EW4, the following process was used to select names for submission to the board. From January 25th, 2024 until February 15th, 2024, name recommendations were submitted online through a Google survey from students, families, community members, and OCPS employees. Based on those responses, 3 names emerged as the most suggested. The names in alphabetical order are Atwater Bay Elementary. This name represents the street where the school is located. Hickory Cove Elementary. This name represents the phase of the master plan community in which the school is located. Waterley Elementary. This name represents the master plan community in which the school is located. I now turn it back over to Superintendent Vasquez.
Thank you. As this school is in Board Member Gould's area, we're on pins and needles, waiting to hear your thoughts on the new name.
Well, you know, all 3 of them are great from a location standpoint, but I think it was pretty close between 2, and Atwater, I think, would be the best in really representing the school and the area, and also have distinction out there, which I think distinction can be helpful right now in a neighborhood where there's a lot of things named the same thing. So I would like to be able to have the school have its own profile and character, and I think that gives you the most opportunity, and it was very close. So I liked Atwater Bay.
All right. Well, we have a motion for Atwater Bay. Do we have a second? Second by Member Ferrant. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Vice Chair? Can we unmute her if we really muted her? Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Before we move on to the next, though, you were introducing the principal, and with a little bit of commotion, I'll be honest with you, I missed the introduction. So could you introduce the principal again so we can give him proper attention?
Again, I would like to introduce the principal now of Atwater Bay Elementary. Principal Matt Hendricks is here this evening.
All right. All right. Excited to see what you do with the new school. All right. We are now on 1702, request approval of a name for 129-M-SE-2, school opening in 24-25. Better height? There we go. Good.
Before I begin, I'd like to recognize our principal, which is Principal Aldridge, and our principal leader, Dr. Trimble, are here with me. Good evening, Chair Jacobs, board members, and Superintendent Vasquez. It's an honor to come before you this evening to present the resolution to request school board approval for the naming of Site 129-MSE2, opening in the 24-25 school year. According to School Board Policy FF, the superintendent shall present 3 recommended names based upon input from the school's community stakeholders. The name of a school selected by the school board, the superintendent shall submit 3 names that are a direct result of the community involvement. In the case of 129-MSE2, the following process was used to select names for submission to the board. From January 25th, 2024 until February 20th, 2024, name recommendations were submitted online through a Google survey from students, families, community members, and OCPS employees. Based upon those responses, 3 names emerged as the most suggested. The names are in alphabetical order. Creekside Middle School. This name represents the nearby Boggy Creek Road and the Boggy Creek watershed. Luminary Middle School. This name represents the street where the school is located, and luminary can also be defined as a person who inspires. Summerdale Middle School. This name represents the nearby Summerdale Park. Thank you. I now turn it back over to Dr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Dr. Fritzler. And I am especially curious because this middle school sits very, very near where we live. And so we are all waiting to hear what this new middle school will be named. So, Board Member Salamanca.
Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. Well, you know, this community is very outspoken, the one you live in. Got almost 1,000 votes on the 3 names, but it was overwhelmingly, and as I've talked to parents and future staff, as one who wants to be inspired, Luminary Middle School sounds like a fantastic option. And, welcome to District 2 where the dreams come true. So I think that goes well. I believe you were coming from what district was that before?
District 1.
Oh, District 1. What a bummer. Welcome. It's great to have you. You're going to have a great time in Luminary. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Oh my God. It was going to be Illuminary. What's the name?
What's the name?
Illuminary.
Oh, yeah, but so that's the motion.
Luminary Middle School.
Okay, all right. So just so you know, you don't get to like
But
proclaim
that is
it.
my recommendation.
Thank
Strong
you. Very good.
recommendation.
Okay.
I feel
okay.
strongly about it.
Okay. Strong
I'm
recommendation.
excited.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Member Ferrand. All in favor, please say aye. And Vice Chair, you got anything you want to say right now? Sounds like you're losing one of yours.
Actually, I know. He's fabulous. So I'm so happy that he gets to open up a school, but I almost want to vote no in retaliation for Member Salamanca's comment about taking from District 1. But since I'm a good school board member, I'm going to vote in the affirmative.
Okay. And if you don't mute your computer right now, we might hear what you really think. So take it from me. I've made that mistake a time or two. Don't make that mistake. Okay. The vote is unanimous, and that takes us to the special item added 17.03. And Dr. Vasquez, you covered this fairly well, but do you want anything else you want to say on that? Okay. So is there a motion to approve 17.03, request approval of the health insurance premium discount for the 24-25 plan year? Okay. Okay. Member Castor-Dental makes the motion. Member Ferrand, second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Vice Chair?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. All right. We are almost done with our agenda. Let me go to Superintendent for informational items.
Yes, Madam Chair, I have one item that I'm going to share this evening. As we approved, I believe, at this board meeting, or maybe it was the last one, April is School Library Month. And we thought it would be a great idea if board members had the opportunity to visit some of the schools in their district to thank our media specialists for all of the work that they have done this year, especially with all of the changes. And so we will be providing a suggested list of schools for you to visit and some possible activities during the month of April. And if you let us know, we'd love to be able to send out our marvelous photographer to capture those moments and share them on social media. And I'm sorry, I have one more item. Board Member Gallo, who has been championing literacy, had a great idea since there's so much rivalry love amongst our board members. We have found some dollars out of Title II, thanks to our incredible Chief Academic Officer, Tashonda Brown Cannon, to be able to pay for teachers to be trained in the science of reading. And so we are actually going to have a friendly competition amongst the board members to see who has the most teachers signing up to be trained. And so we will have a special prize for the winner of that competition, and we are looking forward to be able to expand our teachers' knowledge on the science of reading. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member Ferrant, is this a new? Yeah, okay, go ahead, you're recognized, I'm sorry.
This is, Dr. Vasquez, this is absolutely incredible news. The science of reading is truly, I feel like it's going to transform our entire district, and ensuring that every single one of our teachers is trained in the science of reading. I believe it will truly change the trajectory of our students' education, and not only right now we have an incredible graduation rate, but our reading literacy rate is hovering around 50%. And so to get our that proficiency up to where our graduation rate is would be incredible. I know I set my standards high, but honestly, that is this is absolutely incredible. So one question about this: is it through, how are they being trained, and are we training them through like Read Foundation, or is this through wherever they want to go?
We will provide information that will go out to all of our staff, all of our teachers, and we'll share that with the board. The Read Foundation has opened up additional slots and training opportunities that will go through the summer, so that will certainly be one avenue. And then we also are looking at other opportunities with other sources that train in the science of reading.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Ms. Envold, do you have any updates for the board? All right, thank you. All right. I know we have committee reports. Let me start with communications. And then Member Kester-Dennell had something, and was there somebody, and you had an announcement you want to make, I believe, Member Felder. All right, let's start with Chairman of our communications.
Thank you, Chair. We had a communications committee this afternoon to evaluate the steps to perhaps moving forward our half-penny sales tax referendum. We started to develop some language, and we'll come back together as we get more feedback from the community and on what that language may look like, finalizing our decision, and then what will happen as a timeline over the next several months. So I just wanted to share that is being considered, and more to come on that in the future.
All right, thank you. Member Kester-Dennell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I am going to give you an update on the Hungerford property, the museum application, and the lawsuit. And I'm going to probably go past my 5 minutes because this is important information. I hope you'll indulge me. We have some people from Eatonville in our audience. We have Mayor Angie Gardner and the town administrator Demetrius Presley, the director of the CRA Shan Rose, and the attorney for the town Cliff Shepard. So the town, as you know, submitted their museum application along with 7 other cities or counties in Florida, and according to the criteria, Eatonville is a very strong candidate, especially when you consider the partnership with OCPS for educational field trips for different grade levels, research projects, and teacher training. The value to our school district of those opportunities is hard to measure, but it would strengthen our commitment to honoring and celebrating Black history. And also it would help set our district apart with those unique learning opportunities. And as you may remember, at our last meeting, we committed 10 acres of the Hungerford property right off of I-4 with a letter of intent to the museum task force. They will be narrowing down the applications and choosing their top 4 in the next 2 weeks, which is exciting, but the short timeline is also problematic. We can only offer the 10 acres of the property if the property is free and clear, and there remains a lawsuit that was filed a year ago, not by the town, but by a group called the PEC, when the property was for sale. We hoped that by now the judge would have made a decision one way or another, but that lawsuit puts the museum opportunity in jeopardy. I promised to bring open ears and an open mind to future conversations with the residents and the stakeholders. And since then, the district's stance was to not pursue any other offers, but to follow the lead of the town and the town council. And I've had ongoing discussions with members of the town council, the mayor, those who are present, the chamber, and they spoke at our last meeting. And during this time, the residents and stakeholders have been involved in developing the town's comprehensive master plan. They've made so much progress, but the ongoing lawsuit on the property also prevents them from moving forward and determining what their historic town will look like. So I received a letter from Mayor Gardner with a request, and I forwarded it all to you today. In order to put the town in the best position for the History Museum, and so that they can complete their comprehensive plan, and which would also help to end the lawsuit in a timely manner, she asked that the town of Eatonville be granted the remaining acres from the Hungerford property, possibly in the form of a land trust. This is not to be granted to the entity who is suing the district, but instead to the town. So, in addition to the 10 acres, we have committed for the History Museum, and what I strongly believe is in the best interest of the public, I am recommending that we convey the remaining 90+ acres of the Hungerford property to a land trust that is established by the town. And I recognize that this is an important decision. It's complicated, and I know you may have some questions before we come to an agreement, but I'm asking for support from the board to move forward with this critical initiative. And before we engage in questions or concerns about how this might affect the upcoming referendum, I'd like to provide some perspective and history about the property, which I believe is relevant and will help inform your decision. May I go on, Madam Chair? Okay. So it's critical to understand the history of the property in order to figure out how we're going to navigate this process. So Eatonville is a very small community of about 2,500 people. It's smaller than any of our high schools. It's only 1 square mile in area, and where poverty rates are 3 times the national average. It was incorporated in 1887 as the first black town in the United States, and then 2 years later, Mr. Hungerford deeded 160 acres to a board of trustees to create a vocational school for black students. It was the Hungerford Normal and Industrial School. It became a private boarding school. And during that time, black students were not allowed to go to school with white students. Over the years, the school's enrollment declined, and they had trouble with upkeep and operating the school. So in 1950, the trust for the Hungerford School could no longer operate, and the Orange County Public Schools took on the responsibility to continue to educate black students on the 300 acres. There was a transaction where the district paid $16,571 to offset some of the debt that the trust had incurred. The district agreed to take over the operations of the high school so that they had facilities for teaching black students in Orange County. It's important to know that the district did not purchase the property. The property was given to OCPS to operate for the benefit of residents of the town and for African American students. 15 years later, the district built Hungerford Elementary on that property next to the Hungerford Prep. And then about 12 years later, the district started selling off the land in pieces, starting in the 70s. So they sold 1 acre for $37,000 to a company where West News is located on Long I-4. In 1980, they sold 10 acres to the town for $100,000. They sold 5 acres for $26,000. They sold 91 acres for $1 million for car dealerships and an industrial park that you can see along I-4. The district also has a precedent of donating land to the town. So in 97, the district donated 1 acre to the town to access Lake Bell. And in 2000, the district donated an acre to build the Orange County Library. But we also have a very regrettable history of stewardship on the property. The district granted the county permission to use one of its lakes to dump their trash. And some of the other lakes that are there now in Eatonville were created from borrow pits that were dug out during the construction of I-4, which runs right through the middle of the town. And more recently, we have continued to sell it off piece by piece. In 2008, we sold 5.5 acres to the Department of Transportation for $6.5 million to create a retention pond. Around that same time, Hungerford Prep Magnet School closed for low enrollment. And then in 2016, we sold 5 acres to Host Dime for another $1.5 million. And then we sold over 1/2 acre to the county for a right-of-way on Wymore Road. So you can see the acres are diminishing with no real plan. So the district has already made about $9 million from selling off pieces of the property with no coherent plan. It's now a patchwork of parcels. And some of you may remember Nancy Robinson, who was in this position before I was. She was also trying to work with the town and the district on the property. My first year, we had a developer who was never able to close after a year. And then in 2020, we had an RFP for 80 acres, and we had no responsive bids. In 21, we had another RFP. We extended the time for the bids because we had such low response. And that was what we ended up with last year, and that was a mess. There have been 3 recent attempts to sell the remaining 100 acres, and they have fallen through. And since then, the district has cleared the land of the former high school, but in doing so, we have also taken away the basketball court, the gym, the kids' football field, a community space and kitchen, and we have put up a fence around the perimeter with no trespassing signs. So it is not a stretch to say that most people in Eatonville do not trust the Orange County School District. And I have devoted this last year to repairing that relationship. I committed to learning from and listening to generations of Eatonville's residents, young and old, and they are proud to be raised in a community with such significant history in the story of the United States. I have heard from so many people who make a pilgrimage to Eatonville because it symbolizes resilience, freedom, and self-governance. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that for many people, this property is sacred land. The 100-acre property is in the center of the town, a town that is the size, again, of 1 square mile. So what happens on this property will determine not just the future of the town, but if it continues to even exist. And as the representative of the town on the board, I have received so many emails, postcards, phone calls from friends and residents, reporters. I've talked to ministers, congregants, even the great-granddaughter of Mr. Hungerford himself. I get stopped at lunches, at dinners, asking for us to do the right thing. I have heard from state representatives, state senators, members of the Winter Park City Council, Maitland City Council, and Congressman Frost urging the district to convey the property to the town. The interest in the outcome isn't contained to Orange County either, and not once have I heard that it is proper for us to sell it off to the highest bidder. We have a responsibility to be good stewards of the remaining parcel of the town that is on the National Historic Registry. You have to balance the value of the land, not just in monetary return to OCPS, but in the historic value to the town and the people who have grown up there. In that sense, the historic value is greater, and we need to protect it. This property belongs to the people of Eatonville. I am recommending that we commit to developing a plan to transfer control, working with the Southern Poverty Law Center and the PEC and the town, so that the remaining acres of the Hunger for Property go to the town in the form of a land trust or joint use agreement, whatever it is that allows the town to make the self-determination of what happens on that property going forward. I know our attorneys can work with the utmost speed because we also have a lot at stake right now. In particular, the museum. Our application will not be valid if we cannot resolve this in a timely fashion. So I think it's the right time to do it, and it's the right thing to do. So I know you may have questions. I'm happy to entertain them.
Member Salamanca.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Dr. Casterdenal, so much for kind of providing the history and the context and all of the work you've been doing in improving this relationship. Obviously, this goes way further back than any of us up in this boardroom have been up here. So I think we all have the intention to make right and find a solution that makes sense, and that we have the legal means to also do. So I would be supportive of this board spending time figuring out and putting some resources behind what that plan could or would look like. This is not my community, so I'm not as familiar with the intricacies and legalities and everything that goes with it. So, but as a board member, I definitely would love to be informed and welcome the opportunity to look into your proposal or any other proposal on what we are doing with this from the district or from the community. So I don't know how we set that up, but I'm supportive of definitely being thoughtful about this. So thank you.
Thank you, Member Salamanca. Member Gould.
I completely support the exploration of this. I would like to know from either a statutory or a legal, this has been going on since I've been on the board, obviously, from your fantastic recap of the history, and I think the spirit of how this land should benefit the community of Eatonville. It's beautiful. But what, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask our legal counsel, what are the borderlines that we have to work with in this? I've had the benefit of being a part of not-for-profits that have worked with agencies and done long-term leases where we've owned the building, the not-for-profits own the building, but that land was kept to make sure that it always stayed in the spirit of that. So I think there are lots of different models out there. But what are the boundaries that we're bound to statutorily for this property?
I'm going to start off by saying that we'd be happy to explore a lot of these.
Not sure if your mic's on.
Sorry, is it on?
Oh, yeah, it's
Okay.
on.
This is the first we've heard of the first email that we got from Mayor Gardner about this. We had actually explored a Florida Land Trust Act probably about a year ago. I had sent an email to Dr. Casterdenal. I'm going to have John go through Section 1013.28 and our obligations under SREF and how everything has changed over the course of the years. We did at one point have the ability to donate, but that has since been removed. And John has done all the research, and I'm going to have him walk through all of that. But like we talked about before, with respect to the joint use agreement or some sort of lease, we could definitely look into that. We just have to explore other options, and we're probably not prepared to move with any sort of recommendation tonight. But I'll let John go through that narrative.
So I'll recognize Mr. Palmerini in just a minute, but Dr. Casterdenal, can you clarify again what the deadline is on the grant? I know you included that in your remarks, but...
Yes, thank you. The task force will be narrowing down their top 4 on, I believe it's the 12th of April.
So may I follow up,
Yes,
Chair?
please.
Would a letter of intent for an agreement help that grant process? If, we want to make sure, obviously some of us are only hearing the details of this tonight, so it's going to be hard to kind of flip a switch tonight without that full vetting, because we are currently the stewards of that land and want to do better. I want to do better than we've done in the past with that land. But if there were a letter of intent that we intend to make that museum possible, would that suffice the review board for the grant so that you wouldn't have to wait another year?
Okay.
Can I answer
Let me do
that?
this. I wanted to make sure of the date, just because as we're talking about a process that's 10 days away. So before going to Mr. Palmerini, which I think we should take next, I did want to get a handle on what we're talking about in terms of how quickly we would potentially have to move. So let's hear from Mr. Palmerini about his discovery in terms of his legal analysis, and then we'll come back to hear the rest of the board members' thoughts, and then discuss whether there is a process that we can, and whether there's a way for us to verify also with the task force kind of their process and their timeline and what they would need from us. So, Mr. Palmerini.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, and thank you, Ms. Envall. So a couple things this is going to take a little bit of time. I have done some research, and it's a step-by-step process, and I want you all to understand how we got where we got. But first, we still have pending litigation, and the town of Eatonville is not the party to that litigation. It is the Association to Preserve the Eatonville Community, and we have received no communications from them indicating any of this. So in order to settle any litigation, it will have to be with that plaintiff. And unless we hear something from that plaintiff that says that they've given the town authorization to negotiate on their behalf a potential resolution of litigation, that becomes very difficult for us to deal with. Second, as you'll hear under the statute, in order to do anything with the property, including a potential donation of it, we have to declare it surplus through a resolution of the board. And we have gone through our records. The superintendent reported to you all on December the 12th that we have gone through our records, and this board has not declared that property surplus in the manner in which the statute requires us to do so. So we would have to bring an action back to this board to declare the property surplus in order to do any sort of contemplated transfer. But now let me go over the rules briefly. You all know your constitutional and statutory home rule powers. So you have the power to do anything except as expressly prohibited by the state constitution or general law. And the Attorney General has opined. And again, Attorney General opinions are not binding, but they are considered highly persuasive by the courts. I'm going to reference a few Attorney General opinions. So the Attorney General in Attorney General Opinion 83-92 says, when a state statute distinctly specifies the method, manner, or procedure in which a district school board is required to act in the exercise of a legislative power or administrative policy, such legislative direction would prevail over a conflicting method or procedure adopted by the district school board. So you have to follow when the state tells you how to do something specifically. So 101328 is the disposal statute, and it says subject to the rules of the State Board of Education. This portion is extremely important, and I'll describe why. The district school board may dispose of any land or real property to which the board holds title, which is by resolution of the board determined to be unnecessary for educational purposes as recommended in an educational plant survey. A district school board shall take diligent measures to dispose of educational property only in the best interest of the property. However, appraisals may be obtained by the district school board prior to or simultaneously with the receipt of bids. Receipt of bids obviously indicates some sort of sale. So the State Board of Education has adopted rules, and those rules are known as the state requirements for educational facilities. Okay, and this has been discussed in other Attorney General opinions. So in 1986, AGO 86-107 was issued, and in that case, the Hernando County School Board wanted to declare real property surplus and sell it to a nonprofit firefighting corporation without competitive bids. And at that time, the state requirements for educational facilities required competitive bids. And the Attorney General stated that the State Board of Education's rules for disposal of property is, quote, the exclusive method of disposing of property, and that a school board cannot pass a policy varying from the content of the State Board of Education rule. And the Attorney General says as follows: while Rule 6A-2.28, that's the former numbering of the rule, is not a provision of general law, Section 235.04, which is identical to the now 1013.28, makes the disposal of real property described therein subject to the rules of the State Board of Education. Thus, the provisions of the applicable administrative rule appear to represent the exclusive method for disposing of real property which falls within the scope of the rule, and any attempt to deal with this property in another fashion would constitute a conflict with general law. So, we have to follow the State Board of Education's disposal rules. And so now, this brings us to the 1999 version of the state requirements for educational facilities. Now, the reason why I'm going back to 1999 is that the state had many more avenues of disposal of property in 1999 than we do now. But let me give you some of the things that they allowed us to do back in 1999. We could transfer a property to another governmental agency for whatever consideration the board deems to be in its best interest. That was in 1999. Consideration is money or other types of bartered for exchanges. We could trade property back then. We could trade it in equal dollar values, or we could trade it even for another piece of property, even if it wasn't an equal value, if the board deemed the trade to be in its best interest. And in 1999, there was a lease purchase contract. And that provision said, a board may dispose of any land owned by it through a lease with an option to purchase or a lease purchase agreement to any person or entity as the board determines to be in its best interest. So, lease purchase, trade, transfer, those were all in the state requirements for educational facilities in 1999. Let's fast forward to the current version of the state requirements for educational facilities, which is 2014. And I'm going to read to you in its entirety, but what I'm going to tell you is transferring property, lease purchases options have all been removed. This is the entirety of what it says. We can still trade property, but there is nothing in the rule that says we can trade it for below the value of the property for which we are trading. Here's what the rule says. A board may dispose of any land or other real property by resolution of such board if recommended in an educational plan survey and if determined to be unnecessary for educational or ancillary purposes. Upon disposal of any land or real property, funds received shall be deposited into a depository account pursuant to SREF and credited to the fund source used for the original acquisition. If the original acquisition was by private grant or donation, the proceeds from the sale shall be deposited into a depository account to SREF and shall be expended only on capital outlay projects unless otherwise prescribed by the grantor or donor in writing or in a written agreement with the board. If the original fund source cannot be determined, proceeds of the sale shall be credited pursuant to SREF Section 2.14 and shall be expended only on capital outlay projects. This section does not apply to the granting of easements, right-of-way, or leases of board property for no consideration. So, sorry, I hit the microphone. I apologize. So we cannot donate the land under this version of SREF, the current version of it. There is leases of property that are involved we could potentially look at, but that will require us to enter into a lease agreement, and it will require us to designate the property as surplus, which we have not currently done. So we have to do it in the manner prescribed by the state. You all have, I'm not going to go ahead and cite the rules that say both you all as the school board and the superintendent have the responsibility to follow Florida law. I've cited that to you before. And there is case law from the 1930s that's still applicable. It's a case called Harvey versus the Board of Public Instruction for Sarasota County. The county, Sarasota County School Board was going to build a post office for the United States Postal Service that was worth back then $175,000. That would be about $3 million today, and just donate the entire building to the U.S. Postal Service. And the board thought that that was a good trade because the board still owned property next to that post office, and it was going to make the property they owned more valuable because it was going to be next door to a post office. And the Florida Supreme Court said, you can't do that because you have the general law upon which the school board relies cannot be construed to give the authority to make the conveyance complained of. And for this reason, the taxpayer's prayer for perpetual injunction to restrain the proposed conveyance of school property, and this is the key phrase, until a full, fair, and adequate consideration is received, should have been granted. So the court requires us to get, in the absence of any provision of state rules granting us to do something otherwise, full, fair, and adequate consideration. Consideration is normally meant as money. So we did have one instance, and to be fair to this board, as part of my research, we did have one instance where the Attorney General said a donation of property was okay. That was actually because of a 1-year change in the law. So in 1989, the legislature removed the provision of the statute that says disposal has to be, quote, subject to the rules of the state board. They took it out of the statute. And then in late 89, the Hamilton County School Board wanted to donate property to the Boys and Girls Club, and the Attorney General issued Opinion 89-87. And the Attorney General said, with the deletion of the phrase subject to the rules of the state board from the statute, this requirement that disposal of unnecessary property be accomplished pursuant to the administrative rules of the State Board of Education was eliminated, and that meant that they could do it not in compliance with state board rules. Immediately in the next legislative session in 1990, after that occurred, the legislature added in the requirement that disposal of property be subject to the State Board of Education rules. That was in Laws of Florida 90-172, subsection 10 of Laws of Florida.
Mr. Palmerini?
Yes, ma'am, and I was finished.
Pardon me?
I was finished.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to give serious consideration to how we reach a conclusion on this. So we've just heard a lot from you. Mr. Shepard is in the audience. Member Castrodeno would like to hear from him. And I certainly, hold on just a minute. I certainly think that we need to do that before making any decisions. I'm a little concerned, to be honest with you. You know, I really love research and I love delving into this. But after everything I just heard, unless I can sit down, look at that, and spend a little time on it, I'm not going to make an intelligent decision here. And Mr. Shepard, I know him. I know his reputation. I'm sure he's going to make a compelling case as well. But I, for one, will not be able to reach a decision tonight without spending a little bit more time understanding this. I'm very concerned about the short time frame, and what I would like to see, if all of y'all want to speak, and so I apologize that, but I'm just trying to figure out a way to construct a plan where we can consider something. So it does seem to me, I think, that a museum is educational. I don't know what else a museum is if it isn't educational. And it would seem to me that if the school district is willing to have that become a museum, even if we are not donating it, it's our land, we're putting a museum on it, that we can get past this deadline and then we'll have the space to better understand this issue and determine what the board's desire is with this and how we can get there in a legal fashion. We have so many things we have to deal with. We have to get that lawsuit either dropped or settled. All of these things can be done if we have willing partners. We can do all of this. Can we do it by the 12th? I'm looking at the calendar trying to figure out how we can get a work session. I don't see how we can get to that date. And even if we all know what we want to do, I don't see how we're going to get there. So if there is an alternative that allows us to move forward with this, I know I have said it, I know other board members have said it, it's important to me that we come to an agreement with this town. This is an extremely important issue. It has been for me for 20 years. So I'm very supportive of moving this dialogue forward. I just don't think we can get there by the 12th. So let me take comments now from board members. First, let me hear back, Member Kester-Dental, and just
Okay.
my thoughts there.
Thank
Again,
you.
I'm trying to figure out.
Yes, it is complicated, and I appreciate your concerns. We cannot offer the 10 acres. The task force won't consider the land free and clear while the lawsuit is on it. So the first thing we have to do is work with the Southern Poverty Law Center and the PEC to develop a plan that we are going to work with the town to accommodate their master plan. We have to have these conversations. It doesn't have to be the whole board. It can be with Demetrius Presley. It can be with Cliff Shepard. It can be with the Southern Poverty Law Center. It can be with the superintendent. It can be with our lawyers. But if we can look at a way that we develop a framework to work within that would satisfy them, they may drop the suit in time for the museum to be considered. So I think if we can allow that those conversations to be had with our commitment and in good faith, that we can make some headway.
Okay, well, I'm going to take comments from board members, but if there's a genuine desire by all three parties to make the museum happen, I'm hoping that the lawsuit is not a way of trying to leverage this conversation. I'm coming to
No.
the table. Okay, but then we should be able to resolve the 10 acres. Let me go to Member Farran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do think, coming in as a new board member, I remember I was very curious about the hunger for property, a lot of stuff happening with that. But after speaking with our legal team, there's definitely a lot of legalities that are kind of out of our hands. However, is there something where we can work, and obviously this is something I think we need to have a different day. I feel like it was kind of thrown on us last minute. But maybe we can look at and see if it's something, can we submit that and say we would like to put an application to have the museum, because if it benefits their community and it isn't a backdoor to try to donate the land, but it's really just to benefit the community and have the museum there, then is it something where the school, the school district can then submit the application and say, we would like to have this on our property?
May I respond to that?
Yes.
Real quick.
Yeah.
We have already submitted our letter of support and contributing the 10 acres to the town with the application, but the applications have closed. So they've got their top 8 and they're going to start narrowing them down. So there's already a letter of support with our commitment, The only thing that's in the way is the lawsuit that continues to hang over. So we can't change the application now.
Okay.
Member Felder.
Thank you, Chair. I, for one, am excited. I went to school in Kansas, and there was only one other all-black town in America, and it was in Kansas, and it's no longer there. So Eatonville does remain to be the only all-black town, started off and is still in existence. And what a wonderful gesture it would be for an educational endeavor for us as a board to endorse, and we are. But I guess we are sort of in a conundrum because there's a lawsuit. And you listening to our legal team and what they've always said, that when you're in the middle of a lawsuit, it's just very little that can be done. However, I would admonish those persons who are in the town of Eatonville that are in favor of what we're trying to do, because it's so apropos to have a museum there. And it should be owned by the town. The town should have that ownership. It's just, from my perspective, it's unfortunate that we are caught up in this type of thing, because the benefit, I think, as an educational entity that we have all the little bells and whistles and everything that's in place to help make it flourish, to do what it was intended to do by the prior owners some years and years and years and years ago. None of us on this board were even thought of when this happened. So I am of the I do want us to make sure that we are within legally doing the right thing in terms of how we're moving. But if we can move forward, I don't know that we can because of the lawsuit, but I would be in favor. But also at the same time, my concern is how we're going to get around this. If it's such a thing as getting around it, but how we're going to get through this, because that is something that, and we missed the window because we're dealing with litigation. How very unfortunate for the people that are in Eatonville, for those children that are going to come up, generations to come. How very unfortunate that would be, because we're caught up in this kind of thing. I just wanted to share that. I'm hoping that we can work through this, but it just seems dire. But thank you.
Thank you, Member Felder. I'm actually up next. So as for the two main issues, and by the way, I do appreciate the recount. When I first joined the board, I calculated up all the money the district had received from the $16,000. I looked at the $16,000 and I looked at the present value of the $16,000, which is a lot more than $16,000, but I still came away with our return has been greater than our investment. So I think some of the legal arguments ought to be muted by that, but that doesn't mean that's the way the law works. So the two issues are the lawsuit and DOE. With DOE, we could write to them, explain what the situation is. This will be like, the third time that rather than us jumping around and bouncing around and reading all sorts of things, we just ask the question. So that would be a start with DOE. With regard to the lawsuit, I agree with you. My preference is at a minimum, we start with what's on fire right this minute, the 10 acres. If we can deed that over to the town so that they can move forward quickly, that would be my preference. We'd have to know from DOE that we can do that. But then we still have this lawsuit. So that's where I'm getting, honestly, a little concerned that who is it again that's suing us? I apologize.
The
PEC.
Preserve
So PEC.
Eatonville.
PEC will not carve out 10 acres of this lawsuit? Well, I think we need to do that. And I think that Mr. Shepherd and the mayor need to find out. I know you don't trust us. I understand that. I don't blame you. But the only way I can see where we're going to be able to deal with the 10 acres is to be able to carve that out of the lawsuit and move that property to y'all with the consent of DOE, and then you go forward with that. Then we sit down at the table and we talk about the bigger issue, the other 90 acres, and what we can legally do with that. I've argued internally that this language in the statute about the community's welfare, whatever that language is, gives us a window, and I think Eatonville is extremely unique situation. So I think there's an opportunity there, but I don't want to see us miss this opportunity for a grant. So that would be my advice for a two-pronged approach, an immediate one to deal with the crisis. I'm going to call it crisis because I think it's a crisis to lose this opportunity. And then a longer-term plan where we can do two things. We can have Mr. Palmerini submit his legal, whatever it's called, brief to us. Mr. Shepherd can submit his, and we can sit here as the judge and try to figure out who we think is legally right. I rather prefer just going to the Department of Ed, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what all of us pretending to be judges does with this. I think ultimately it's theirs. However, those two briefs could be sent to them. So there's multiple options. We've all had about 30 minutes to think about this, and it's really important. And we'll need a little more time than that. We can also task our teams to sit down with Mr. Shepherd and to come back with another strategy for solving this. So with that, let me recognize Vice Chair Gallo. And I'd love some feedback on those suggestions. Vice Chair, are you with us still?
I am.
Thank you,
Madam Chair. Yeah, so I agree. I agree with what you said, Madam Chair. This is very important. I wholeheartedly support the building of the museum. I think that's important to Eatonville. I believe that we need to be good partners with Eatonville on how we tackle this land use. And I understand that it's been a long time. It's been longer. This all happened prior to even when I was elected in 2018, and it's important. Based on what I've heard from my fellow school board members and from Mrs. Inval and Mr. Palmerini, it's a lot of information, and I'm not at a place where I believe I can make an educated decision without really sitting down and looking at the information further. It's one thing to hear it from our attorneys, and I appreciate Member Castro-Dental for all the great information that she gave us, which highlighted the history of this land. But I still need more time to process it. So at this time, I would like to do anything that we can within our power to make sure that the museum is considered. I'm not certain what that looks like, but I really need to sit down with staff and to hear from anybody before I even make a decision on how or what we do to move forward. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gallo. Member Byrd.
Thank you, Chair. And you said things that I had written down exactly. I was going to say, why are we not just asking specifically about this situation? Because as you said, the situation with Eatonville, the town of Eatonville, the history of Eatonville is so unique and was not what these rules were written about. Not at all. And I think that given the history and given what we've just all of the different details that have taken place over the years, and in the fact that it was, it's just such a unique situation, the whole thing, that I think the only way we're going to know for sure is if we just ask. So I am 100% in favor of cutting to the chase, and let's just go to the source and find out if yes, what we can do with this land. Can we convey it back to the town? If we can, if we get permission to do that, then I am in complete and total support. I think that I will again just thank Member Castor-Dental on her leadership here. I think that she's done a great job of working with the town and trying to find a solution that honors the history and honors them, and maybe we can work on correcting some of the things that have taken place. I would agree with you, Chair. I think that is really what we need to do. I'd also like to, I agree with your stance as well about the 10 acres. That we need to approach the group about that. But yeah, I'm in support of both of those. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Member Gould.
So there was some language in the statute that, again, we didn't have time to read it and absorb it, but that I heard that I think may open up some windows of opportunity to support what both you and Member Byrd just described. One was donor intent. I'm paraphrasing in that. But the donor intent that was described in that statute, I think, if my memory serves me well from both Member Robinson and Member Gordon, there was documentation on Mr. Hungerford's donor intent for that space. So I'm sure we have documents somewhere, or I would hope we have documents somewhere that showcase that. So I think, as was pointed out, there are some unique things with this property that statute in its generalization to be vanilla across the entire state of Florida do not take into consideration, but there are mentions in there. So I think we need to lift those up. I have more questions than we can possibly answer today, and I am in favor of coming to any resolution, getting that lawsuit out of the way to clear the path for success here, but also to make sure that we don't miss the opportunity to support a museum, no matter who and how that is ultimately owned and operated in partnership with the town. And, I think there's also great local models in that. Winter Garden has a great local model for how their historic museum is operated. I am in full support of staff and legal counsel and the town working it out, but I think we still, as a board, need a full workshop on this. This has gone on many, many, many years. And whatever the resolution is, even if we go up to Tallahassee for their input, the community needs to know why we came to that resolution, and it needs to be thoroughly explained, recorded, and have people have the opportunity to speak to it. So I think there's two things we have to accomplish here. Is one, how to solve the short-term problem of April 12th so that opportunity isn't missed. But two, make sure that this plane is finally landed in the proper way, and that the community totally supports Eatonville and its sustainability.
Thank you, Member Gould. Member Castor-Dental. We're actually through all the board members.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Oh, Superintendent. Let's hear from the Superintendent. I'm sorry. I've taken them in the order, and Member Castor-Dental, do you want to hear from the Superintendent, or you want to comment now?
I'd like to comment real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
I know I have talked to our school board attorneys often about the ability to donate the land and the change in the statute. I have consulted with so many other attorneys who have a different interpretation. And even Woody Rodriguez said that, of course, we can donate the land. He didn't see any problem with it. So I don't know if we want to hear from Cliff real quick. If there was anything you wanted to add, if we can hear what he has to say real quick. Okay.
Absolutely. I will tell you before I'm going to make a legal call. I want to see both of their analysis in writing, and I, like you, I get outside opinions from time to time on things that are important. So I'm not suggesting we should only take into consideration, especially if we're going to ask the state, it would be very beneficial to hear Mr. Shepard's counter arguments, because if we're going to ask the state, can we do this? We want to make an argument that we can. So, Mr. Shepard.
Well, thank you,
you're
Chair.
welcome.
I
You're
appreciate it. Let me first say that even though they're legal arguments, I don't want to consider them arguments as against Mr. Palmerini.
No.
We have different experiences that we've lived and experienced personally, so that's where I'm coming from. The first thing I want to answer is the position of the Southern Poverty Law Center, who is representing PEC. And I spoke to Ms. Anderson, who's their attorney yesterday, again today, and she is in agreement that her client would dismiss the lawsuit if there's an agreement to transfer the property. Of course, in order of events, she'd want the property to be transferred and then the lawsuit dismissed, everybody bear their own costs and fees, but that's a doable thing. As to the 10 acres, whether it can be carved out, I don't know about the lawsuit because, as has been mentioned, we are not parties to it. But certainly, I don't have an issue making the ask. It's the timing that's of concern. And I would point out, candidly, and again, without trying to make offense to anyone, without the lawsuit, we probably wouldn't be here. So the lawsuit may have some negatives, but by and large, it's the lawsuit that's got us here. And so, with that in mind, one of the things that Mr. Palmerini said that I pick up on in a different context is that in my position as the general counsel for the Florida Redevelopment Association, I think you, with your prior experience, might be familiar with CRAs.
Absolutely.
One of the great benefits of a CRA is they can dispose of property for fair value, not market value, fair value, which is left 100% through the discretion of the members of that board. And that's important because if you listen to Mr. Palmerini's arguments, he said, fair value. And that is a judgment call. So is it fair? Is it fair to look at what has been the history of this property and say, we've gotten enough? And what I think is that you have that ability. I would also say that there was a mention about leases for no consideration. Potentially that's workable here. I say potentially because it depends on the length of the lease. 200 years, workable. 100, maybe workable. But developers, not just the museum, but if you look at the overall piece, are going to have enough time to get the investment out of the money that would go into developing a property pursuant to a master plan, which fortunately we've had a company, Baker Berrios, that has been working with us to do that plan. I think you know something about that. And I will also point out that months ago, probably 4 months ago, I discussed this with Mr. Palmerini, got his view orally delivered to me, and asked it if it had ever been put in writing, ever. With an issue this important, I would have expected it. The answer is no. I then asked him if maybe if there's a real concern about it, go see the AG months ago, but it didn't happen. And so we could have had the answer, but we don't, and that's why we're up against the wall here. So with great respect for everyone on this board and the job you have to do, the idea of settling the lawsuit is, it may be the obstacle, but it's also the opportunity. Because in settling a lawsuit, you have a lot more leeway than you do in doing it any other way. And so while it's being seen as an obstacle, it is an opportunity. I
do want to, I differ with you on one point. Your premise that, but for the lawsuit, we wouldn't be having these discussions. I can understand entirely why the mayor, why the council would believe that. Totally. If I were in your shoes, I'd believe that.
And I'm not pointing the finger at you either, Chair.
Yeah.
I mean, how the town would have voted on the issue would have maybe been determined by that without that lawsuit. So this is not me pointing at you
It's okay.
or the board.
I'm not taking offense. I'm honestly, if I were in your client's shoes, I would think the same thing. I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm not going to expect you to believe me, but I do feel an obligation on behalf of this board to tell you the truth. After the last plan fell through, this board stepped back and said, we're not doing anything else until we can reach an agreement with the town. We didn't move forward. And we stopped that position before the lawsuit. So, but for the lawsuit, I think we would have made progress. I totally understand why that doesn't appear to be the case on the other side. I think we should try to see if we can carve out the 10 acres, because I think we can get to sundown quicker. And perhaps we can get an AG opinion very rapidly because of the urgency of this. And the reason I think that having these written opinions will be very beneficial is it helps us. Like I said, if we're going to ask the AG to give us an opinion we want and you want, we need to make that argument, not the argument why we can't. We need to make the argument of why we can.
Exactly.
And so is there general agreement on the board of us, I'm sorry, superintendent, I jumped over you because I'm so sorry. Let's hear from general counsel and superintendent.
I just want to make one point that I don't believe has been mentioned, and I think it's critical for us to consider, and certainly a call to DOE would resolve it. But if indeed we surplus the land, we have to offer that, or it can be offered to charters before we do anything else with it. That's my understanding when you surplus the property. And so that would be something that we would want clarification as well, because for our good intentions, then a charter could come in and take the land, and we would not have any recourse, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you. That is definitely something that we need to get an answer on as well. One of the complicating factors, I think this would be easier if this land was owned by the town. And there's an overwhelming perception in the community it was, but it wasn't donated by the town. I think we have a stronger legal argument if we were returning it to the town. I don't know if the Hungerford Association, I don't know how that could play into it. We have some work to do on 100 acres. I still want to figure out if there's some way that we can make that 10 acres. And the fact that the use would be an educational use lends itself to a reasonable argument, but that doesn't necessarily get us around if we need the superintendent. I think what we also need is the right group of people at the table to try to figure out how to make what the board wants to happen. Your suggestions there, and I think most of us are of the opinion that we have to bifurcate these two issues, because I think asking for a 10-acre solution from the state on a educational use is going to be a quicker answer and a more favorable answer, and then tackle the rest of it separately. So from our end, who would you recommend? I think the board would probably want to have Member Kester Dental still engaged in this. Is there any disagreement on that? Okay. So Dr. Vasquez, just our general counsel team, anybody else that you think should be part of it?
Absolutely. I would have our general counsel team involved in those conversations. Again, I want the board to be clear that the timeline that you're asking to meet, to be perfectly honest, I don't see that we're going to be able to get a decision by that date. And I'm so sorry. We'll do everything we can. I am in full support of the museum, what an opportunity that will be for our children, the community, and it would be wonderful, as you pointed out, if we could deal with the 10 acres. That would then move us in the right direction for the town of Eatonville and the museum.
So anybody other than legal that you want at the table? Member Gould just mentioned a school choice. Do they need to be at the table? Do you need to be at the table?
I'm going to, because I do know that there were some minor discussions we really had not had, other than I believe earlier today, some conversations about CTE maybe expanding on the building that we currently have there. I'm going to recommend that we look at Dr. Armbruster, that really would encompass school choice as well as CTE on that.
Okay. So my ask is, can this first meeting happen tomorrow?
As far as I'm concerned.
Because I don't, pardon me?
As far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
I'll be wherever you want me to be.
Pardon me? Pardon me? Pardon me? For them to meet and to figure out what argument, how we approach the state. Is it DOE? Is it DOE? Is it the AG? Is it both? Dr. Vasquez, General Counsel?
So I'm not going to, I can't speak for Dr. Armbruster's schedule.
Okay.
I know that there are a couple events he's covering for me because I'm at FADS. And so, to be perfectly honest, I don't know that they can meet tomorrow. And being perfectly honest, I don't know that they can meet this week. It may be able to meet Monday of next week. Oh, he wasn't even in the room. I'm so sorry. You have a new job, a new responsibility. So I would probably say that we want them to meet as soon as possible, but I would want them to look at their calendars to be able to see what are those commitments, those that they can move around and those that they can't.
Okay. In order to get any chance of getting a letter to the state and getting a response back, if the meetings if a meeting doesn't happen in 48 hours, I'd say DOE, dead on arrival, DOE.
So I can say that I know that Dr. Armbruster is not here all of the 4th. He has a commitment he cannot change. Okay. So I would say the earliest they could possibly meet would be on the 5th.
Okay. Ms. Enval, can you or Mr. Palmerini meet in the next 48 hours?
Yes, we can meet on the 5th. And I also wanted to press my button. I was not privy to the conversation between Mr. Palmerini and Mr. Shepard, but the way it was relayed to me was not completely what my understanding of the conversation was. So I wanted to give Mr. Palmerini the opportunity to relay what the conversation was. What I think the mitigating factor in this case is we do have that pending litigation. And so I think that my understanding of their conversation was not what was just relayed.
Okay. I don't know that that's productive for us to go back and argue over what recollections people have of previous conversations. I think, again, if I'm not hearing the board right, y'all jump in and tell me. But I think what the board wants is to do everything that we can to try to move the 10 acres into the city's hands in time for them. And in order to do that, it's the board's opinion that at this point, the safest thing is to get some sort of a response back from the city or from the state. And in order to do that, I think that Mr. Shepard needs to be meeting with our legal, and you guys need to, whatever happened, whatever was said, whoever didn't represent something, bury the hatchet and get the job done. Okay? Okay. Board members? Okay? Okay. All right.
Madam Chair, I'm unclear on my next step.
Yes.
So I hear this group would be me, Dr. Armbruster, member Enval or Palmerini, and maybe Rosa Grant. Are we? Yes, I don't know if. Yes.
Well, if Mr. Armbruster can't make it, Dr. Armbruster. Okay.
Okay, and the
But-
purpose of that meeting is to reach out to the DOE.
That purpose of that meeting is to meet also with Mr. Shepherd and whoever else from the city needs to be at that meeting. They determine who needs to be at that meeting to make sure we're clear on what we're asking as far as the 10 acres. What I understand is it has to be in their hands based on the grant application.
Yep.
And to draft a letter that's going up to, I'm thinking it's DOE and the AG's office, but I'll leave it to them to figure out who we need to ask and how to draft that letter as persuasively as possible to argue that we should be able to transfer that land to them. And that's part one. Part two, I think, is probably resting entirely in the city's hands, that they need to work with PEC to get them to carve that 10 acres out so that we can move forward. Member Ferrand, please.
I think the whole thing stems really just from the lawsuit is what I'm hearing, and that I feel like if we can get this PEC to drop the lawsuit, it feels very counter, like it's not being very productive at this point. If they're wanting to help they're supposedly wanting to help the town of Eatonville, but yet this lawsuit is causing the town of Eatonville to not be able to potentially have a museum on their land. So I think also reaching out, and I don't know if you all have that contacts with them. I mean, I'm not involved in, I think Member Castor Dental is very apprised to all of this, but having someone reach out to that group, and I know the name, it's very familiar. Who's representing them?
Southern Poverty Law Center.
Right. So the Southern Poverty Law Center, and letting them know, what is your point now? So like at this point you've now overstepped, and now you're not being helpful. Now you're not even, it's like they're just trying to prove a point. I'm not sure. But it is frustrating that now we have a group that's, instead of just saying, okay, let's do what's best in the town's best interest, which is to help bring that educational museum, I think would be amazing. There's other things I would love to do on that land as far as education and partnering. Junior achievement would be amazing. BizTown on that land. There's amazing things that we can do to bring that educational piece. So I don't know. I think as far as it's definitely just it's a very touchy subject, the whole thing. So
I'm going to call the superintendent, but just to clarify, one thing is the issue isn't just the lawsuit. It's also whether or not the state is going to determine that we have violated the statute by giving the land.
But if there wasn't a lawsuit, the state would allow.
Not necessarily. They might tell us we have to offer it up to a charter school first.
Well, what I was going to say is that I believe with the museum application, you don't have to own if we have the intent to say, yes, we'll allow that to be built on the land, I don't think they have to own it, is what I'm trying to say.
That's not what we heard a minute ago, but superintendent?
So I'm seeking clarification. So my understanding is, regardless of what DOE says, if the lawsuit isn't dropped or if they don't agree to carve out the 10, we can't do anything. Correct? So why aren't we asking that they reach out to the Southern Poverty Law Group? Because if they say no, we're not going to carve it out, we could still continue to have the conversations, but I don't think there's that sense of urgency because they're not going to drop it.
And here's the reason. I am asking them to reach out Absolutely. I do not want to wait to start the conversation about what we're sending up to the state, because if it takes 2 or 3 days to get an answer back on carving that out, and we wait 2 or 3 days, we just don't have the time. I think we need to get both trains running at the same time.
I just think you have to be prepared that DOE is going to not respond because there is a pending lawsuit, because that's.
I
been
understand,
some-
but
okay.
if I were asking the question, I would be asking the question, if this 10 acres is no longer subject to a lawsuit, and given the facts that we have as a historical nature of how we came to the property, and that from the Southern Poverty Law standpoint, this piece of property, we're saying carve it out, will be owned by the city or the town, and it will be an educational use. So there's no reason for them to continue to sue over that 10 acres. If for them that they don't trust us, I get it, and they're trying to hold us hostage, they still get to hold us hostage on the 90 acres. And then we can come back and work through the 90 acres, is my thinking. But we just, if the 12th is really the next kind of critical point, we've got to be accelerating on both fronts, is my thoughts. Member Kester-Dennell?
Yes.
Before you know it, we're going to be into tomorrow.
I know.
Go ahead.
I appreciate the discussion and everyone's attention to this and questions. The lawsuit, it isn't just about the 10 acres. It's about the whole of the property and the ability of the town to make their own decisions about the future. And it is my hope that we can get to a place where we have a plan with the town. We're following the town's lead. They are coming up with their master plan. They're stuck right now, not because of the lawsuit, but because we own the property. We need to do right, and we need to be able to convey the land and the control to the town. The lawsuit is just another way to highlight the need to do the right thing. So I think the Southern Poverty Law Center will be open to a discussion about what is our intention with the whole of the property, not just the museum. The museum is really what is spurring me to push for a resolution quicker. The lawsuit's been there for a long time. We've been waiting for the judge to kind of make a decision. But it's this opportunity that has really put the fire under me to really do what I can to bring the people together, the different groups together, to find a path forward. I appreciate the idea of reaching out to the DOE to make a decision about what we're able to do with the property, because that can really change the direction that we go forth, and in what time, and give the town some certainty. They're struggling, and we continue to just hold on to it and not invest in the future. We are doing great things in Eatonville. We are doing great things with our technical school and the elementary school and scholarships and so many great things. But we don't need all of the rest of the property to continue to do those great things. And I think there is a path forward if we can get in the room and talk to one another and try to restore some of that trust. And I hope that's where we land soon.
Member Kester-Dennell. We have 10 days. 10 days. We are not going to be able to come up with a plan for 100 acres. And I wouldn't want to ask the Department of Ed right now if they would agree that we can give 100 acres. Okay? And they got to tell us in 10 days. the answer to that and whether we can't do anything with charter school. I don't want to ask that question, okay? Because I don't feel very good about the answer. I think the board has been very clear that they want to be able to talk about the 100 acres. But what I've heard is, unless somebody's being disingenuous with the board, what I've heard is by the 12th, we need to be able to say definitively the city has the property and can use it for that purpose. And the only way that I see that we can do that is to separate this 10 acres from the rest of it. And Southern Poverty Law ought to be good with that if we can get it into the town's hands and if they're using it for an educational purpose. And yes, there is a way for them to carve out and redefine their lawsuit. And that still gives them, if that's their leverage they think they need, that still gives them that. But if your goal was to come in here tonight and get the board to agree that we're going to give 100 acres without us knowing legally that we can do this, without us knowing whether the state's going to come back and yank it back and say, you have no business doing that, it goes to charter schools. I don't want to play that game with the state. I don't think we win with that approach of just trying and seeing if they agree with this. I think we're much better off when we ask for clarification. And if we ask for the clarification on 10 acres, I think we have a chance of getting there. And then we come back on the 90 acres. And now we have our arguments made and we can pursue what we can do with the 90 acres. And so that's the reason I understand you feel like there's an urgency, and there is an urgency. But trying to take advantage of this urgency to do 100 acres, I'm not going to vote on that. I don't have enough confidence in this decision to vote on that. I do have enough confidence to send a request up for 10 acres. I'm confident that we can... That is the reason for bifurcating.
Yeah.
To get it.
So my plan was not to push anything through.
10 days. We have 10 days.
My plan was to try to resolve an issue that has come up. And when I talk about a plan, it is among the town and the Southern Poverty Law Center, so that we can discuss what are they asking for? What can they expect from us? It doesn't have to be a full resolution. It can be a plan and allowing us to move forward.
Remember, Councilor Daniel, that is
Yes.
still on the table. Nobody's
Right.
saying we're not going to work on a plan.
Right.
We're talking about what we need to do by the 12th.
I
So
understand.
Let me call on Member Gould for comments.
So I thought I understood until you just said that, Member Castrodental. Is there a draft plan to be presented right now to this group that we're trying to convene so that they have something to munch on and have that would still satisfy that April 12th deadline? Because if I heard the broad spectrum in your review, but I didn't hear any specific requests on how to, step one, the lawsuit goes away. Step two, we would do this. Step three, we would, go to the state to jointly, or we'd ask the school board to go. I didn't hear that. So is that ready for discussion for tomorrow or the 5th?
No, we are following the lead of the town and what their master plan has been and their concepts of what they need for the town to be sustainable. We don't have plans for the town.
No, I understand, but that's
lawsuit-
my question. My
There-
question
there
is,
is
do
no
they
plan right
have what action steps they want us to take within our legal boundaries has that been outlined? Because I didn't
No,
think it was. I
that's
thought
a
that was
discussion.
the point of getting, okay. All right. So then I'm on the same page with you. So that is the point of getting this group together. And I have to say, I think that the chair's investigation of kind of splitting that out in order to meet the April 12th deadline is a good one if we all have committed to the whole 100 resolution within the law. But how do we make an April 12th deadline with that? Because I agree going to the state with more questions than we have answers for is not a good idea. Okay. So that I just wanted to clarify because I got confused for a second. Sorry.
So if we, again, I think there's a compelling case on the 10 acres that can get us possibly, assuming we can get answers back, to deal with issue 1. And issue 2 is creating that process of reaching an agreement with the town about the other 90 acres.
We have a lot of options to address this.
Yeah.
I appreciate the discussion. It is complicated, and there's a lot of different perspectives to include in coming to a resolution. But I'm committed to doing what we need to do. I'm available. I'll become available anytime someone wants to meet. I want to make sure that we have the right staff and the right people who can make this, who can approach the DOE, who know where to ask and what to ask.
That's why I wanted to hear from the superintendent of who else she felt like from the staff perspective needs to be there. But given if we can't, I agree with you. I think Dr. Armbruster would be ideal. But if he's not going to be available, then we need to know who else. And you've suggested Dr. Grant and anyone else, superintendent between.
When are we meeting? I guess is the question.
My goal is 48 hours. And I'm only saying that because I just don't know how you wait any longer than that. You know how long it takes to reach an agreement on what the arguments are, then put it in writing, then get it up, then beg and plead that we get an answer back. And I'm trying to figure out the strategy on that as well. Is how you have good relationships with the Department of Education. I
believe
have
we're
some good
reaching-
relationships, and hopefully we
We're
can.
reaching out to the Attorney General is who we're
Yes.
going to be reaching out to.
Well, the Attorney General is going to give us an opinion.
Correct.
And that's helpful, but it's only opinion. The DOE also it's their rules.
Yeah.
So to the extent that I understood what Mr. Palmerini was talking about, it occurred to me that asking them if this comports with their rules and making the argument for why we think it does would be also very beneficial to have, not just an opinion from the Attorney General.
So if Dr. Armbruster is not, I know he's available, I believe Friday. He's not available on Thursday. So if the plan is to meet tomorrow instead of Friday, then we will have Rosa Grant that is on the, and then I am also, we have Attorney Palmerini and Amy Anvil that will be part of that. And then I'm going to tap Bridget Williams.
All right, perfect. Okay.
Just at 1.
Okay. Okay. All right. We good? All right. We have step one of a plan. Okay? I'm sorry? 10 acres. 10 acres. Yeah. All right. Any further business to come before the board? Okay. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.